Mr. Vance, the men will be here this afternoon. In the hotel room, Cade was giving Donovan Vance his report. Donovan listened, rubbing his shoulder. The gunshot wound from yesterday had been treated immediately, but even with the best medicine, it would take days to fully recover. And he had Leo Evans to thank for all of it. When Cade finished, Donovan nodded slowly and looked at Cole, who was standing off to the side. Cole, what's the situation with the Thorne family? Donovan asked. The explosion yesterday hit them hard, but they should have most of it under control by now. Any idea who was behind it? No, but I have a feeling it was Leo Evans. Oh, Donovan raised an eyebrow. What makes you think it was him? Cole shook his head. I can't explain it. It's just a gut feeling. Cole, did that kid spook you that bad? Cade scoffed. You took all those Thorne family men with you and couldn't even catch him. And now you're telling me that while he was running from you, he had time to hit them with a reverse and blow up the Thorne estate? Does that even sound possible? Cole fell silent. He knew it sounded absurd. The kid was just one person, but he still firmly believed Leo was the one who bombed the Thornes. There's no point arguing about it now. The fact is, the Thornes got hit, Donovan said, standing up and taking a deep breath. Cade, you head over to the Thorne estate and wait for my signal. Once our people arrive, we move immediately. We can't wait until 8 tonight. At that, Cole couldn't help but interject. Mr. Vance, if they're telling you that Dr. Marks is leaving West Lake University tonight, doesn't that mean they're setting a trap? In my opinion, WLU has to be crawling with an ambush. No shit. You think I don't know that? Donovan shot him a glare. It's a blatant trap. They're telling me exactly where Dr. Marks is and daring me to go get him. Mr. Vance, who would set this kind of trap for you? Cade asked. Who else could it be? Donovan's eyes darkened, his voice low. If they know Sterling is with the Vance Dominion, then it can only be those old bastards from the BSO headquarters in New York. A bunch of fossils who refuse to die. I thought the BSO was a shadow of its former self, but they still haven't given up. After all these years of silence, they're starting to crawl out of the woodwork again. Donovan cut himself off. The priority was capturing Dr. Marks. There would be plenty of time to deal with the old guard later. After a moment of thought, he continued, Cade, when the time comes, you and the Thorne family will take down the CS Syndicate first. If you suspect Mason Thorne of betrayal, or if he does anything strange, don't hesitate. Kill him and get out. Understand? Cade froze. What did that mean? Mr. Vance, are you saying you think Mason Thorne will betray us? I can't rule it out. He's been acting loyal, but he's an old fox. We have to be on guard. In that case, why not just take control of him now? It would save us a lot of trouble later. No, he hasn't shown any signs of defiance. If we move on him first, it'll cause dissent among the other families under our banner, Donovan said coolly. Just remember what I said and do as you're told. Cade nodded slowly, then left the room and headed for the Thorne estate. Without him, the Thorne family would have a hard time taking on the CS Syndicate. They might even get wiped out. A core fighter like him was essential. After Cade left, only Donovan and Cole remained. Cole, you'll take a few men and move with me. With the Thorne family and Cade tying up the CS, our target is Dr. Marks. The BSO has probably already set up their ambush at WLU, just waiting for us to walk into it. Hearing this, Cole lowered his voice. Mr. Vance, should I go scout the university first? You'd be walking into a death trap. Donovan gave Cole a weary look. He didn't even have to think about it. Sending Cole would be like throwing meat to a dog. He wouldn't be coming back. They knew there was a trap, and this idiot still wanted to go poke it. Wasn't being alive good enough for him? Have Bartholomew Warren and his people from the Warren Collective arrived? Donovan asked. They got here an hour ago. Any movement from the Ethelberg BSO? Doesn't seem like it, Cole said. According to our intel, the director and most of the agents are still in Ethelberg. No unusual activity. Nothing strange at all. Well, there's one thing, but I don't know if it counts. What is it? For some reason, over the last few weeks, the convenience stores near the Ethelberg BSO have been selling a ton of playing cards. Agents are in there buying decks almost every day. Cole looked confused. Mr. Vance, what do you think they're doing with all those cards? Could it be some kind of scheme? Have you ever heard of anyone scheming with a deck of cards? Donovan covered his face, exasperated. He'd heard rumors that a culture of weaponized incompetence was spreading through the Ethelberg BSO. He thought they'd stamp that out. Why was it starting up again? What Donovan didn't know was that while the slacking had been addressed, Ethelberg had become remarkably peaceful after the incident at the Crucible. The crime rate had plummeted, leaving the agents with almost nothing to do. On top of that, Leo Evans, the king of slacking, was their role model. He'd perfected the art of clocking in without ever showing up for work, becoming the wellspring of the BSO's new culture of idleness. Alex Young had tried to root out the source of the problem several times, but he could never even find Leo. Sometimes, Leo managed to clock in without even being in the BSO building, and no one knew how he did it. In that case, the Ethelberg BSO probably won't interfere. Donovan breathed a small sigh of relief. If Ethelberg got involved, he genuinely wasn't sure he could win. The odds were in his favor, but he didn't want to take any unnecessary risks. The second things looked bad, Donovan would run without a moment's hesitation. Dr. Marks was important, but not more important than his own life. Now, all we have to do is wait for the main force from the family to arrive, and then we can move. Donovan leaned back on the sofa, slowly closing his eyes to wait. Meanwhile, Leo Evans was strolling back to the abandoned building where he'd fought the 7 assassins, a bag of C4 in his left hand and a freshly bought bag of tuna treats in his right. Humming a little tune, he walked up the stairs without making a sound. Just as I thought. As soon as Leo reached the top floor, he was greeted by a ridiculous scene. Sir Reginald Fluffington stood on a high platform. Below him, a crowd of stray cats sat in a circle. Reggie's face was uncharacteristically serious as he surveyed his feline audience, then spoke. Meow. What is our goal? The strays below responded in unison. Meow. Tuna treats. Meow. What is our dream? Meow. Tuna treats. Meow. And what is our slogan? Meow. Meow. Get the treats, win the streets. Hearing the chant, Leo cleaned out his ear, thinking he'd misheard. Were these cats really this hardcore? Willing to risk it all for a few fishy snacks? Good thing he bought some ahead of time, or this might have gotten awkward. Ahem. Leo cleared his throat, instantly drawing the attention of every cat in the room. The strays straightened up, their eyes fixed on him warily. Meow. Everyone relax. Seeing it was Leo, Reggie quickly intervened. Meow. This human is my best friend. There's no need to be nervous. As soon as Reggie said this, the cat's hostility vanished. They even started meowing greetings at Leo. It was clear Reggie held a high status among them. He was basically their kingpin. Leo knew he couldn't let his boy lose face. Spike, look what I brought you, Leo said with a grin, holding up the bag of tuna treats. Instantly, all the cats perked up. Reggie, in particular, looked ecstatic. Hearing Leo call him by his old street name made his tail shoot straight up. He gave Leo a look of profound approval. This kid gets it. Soon, Leo had distributed the treats among the strays. The cats were surprisingly polite, meowing their thanks. Leo even spotted the calico that Reggie had pinned down and thrashed the other day. It seemed the cat had been properly humbled and was now behaving itself. To solidify his position as leader, Reggie didn't even eat his own share, selflessly giving it to the other cats. The sheer class of it all made Leo give him a thumbs up. Spike, come here. We need to talk, Leo said, pulling Reggie aside with a sly smile. Hey, dummy, after I set you up with all this cred, you owe me a favor, right? Meow. What favor? It's like this. Leo began to explain his plan. When he finished, Reggie nodded slowly and gave him a look. Consider done, bro. Leave it to me. Meow. But you gotta give me more tuna treats. Meow. Lots of tuna treats. Meow. Because my little brothers need to eat too. No problem, Leo said magnanimously. After this is over, I'll get you guys an all-you-can-eat tuna treat buffet. At the mention of a buffet, Reggie's eyes lit up. He scampered back to his crew and told them the good news. And so, Leo witnessed the spectacle of a cheering mob of cats. All right, Spike, I'm leaving it to you, Leo said. He dropped the bag of C4 on the floor, gave a wave to the cats, and left. With Reggie in charge, everything here was taken care of. He had complete faith in Spike's abilities. A few stray cats? He could command them in his sleep. And with the ultimate temptation of tuna treats, Leo had no doubt they would succeed. With that sorted, Leo decided to head over to Westlake University to scout the terrain. At the same time, in a quiet corner of the WLU campus, Ethan Sia was standing with his head down, getting an earful. What are you doing here? Do you have any idea how dangerous this is? Lucia Shang stood before him, her face flushed with anger. I haven't even dealt with you for last night, and now you have the nerve to show up here? When Ethan had suddenly appeared in front of her, she didn't know whether to scream or cry. Ethan kept his head down, mumbling, I wanted to surprise you. Oh, I'm surprised, all right. Lucia snapped. And what's with your clothes? Aren't all those throwing knives you've got hidden in there heavy? They're made of a special lightweight material, Ethan explained meekly. And about last night, it was really Leo's idea. I'm innocent. Then why did Leo text me saying it was your idea? Lucia shoved her phone in his face, displaying the message Leo had sent her last night. She completely ignored the part about it being classified BSO information. What kind of agency classifies something like this? You two told me you were going home. Was that home? The Thorne family estate? Ethan, you're lying to me now? When Ethan saw the message on the screen, his eyes went wide. He checked the timestamp. It was from last night. Leo, you son of a bitch. Even a dog wouldn't pull something this low. Ethan couldn't believe Leo had beaten him to the punch and tattled on him. To Lucia, of all people. He deeply regretted not just stabbing Leo when they were chatting that morning. But he knew if he didn't clear this up, he might never see Leo again. He might not even live to see the moon tonight. Lucia, listen to me. You can't believe a word that guy says, Ethan pleaded, looking at her with absolute sincerity. Really, I swear. I swear on my honor. Oomph. Lucia snorted and put her phone away. Knowing Ethan as well as she did, she was sure it hadn't been his idea. She was just worried he was falling in with Leo and going down the wrong path. He used to be such a decent person, but ever since Leo showed up, what had he gotten into? Assassinations, bombings. She was genuinely afraid that one day she'd have to arrest him herself. I'll deal with you later. For now, just go home. I'm not kidding, Lucia said, her expression turning serious. It's very dangerous here. That's why I have to be here, Ethan replied, his own expression just as serious. If I'm not by your side at a time like this, how can I ever have the right to marry you? Lucia opened her mouth to argue, but she saw the determination in his eyes and knew nothing she could say would make him leave. With a sigh, she relented. Fine, but you have to listen to me. No acting on your own. When I tell you to run, you run. Got it? Don't worry. Ethan puffed out his chest and smiled. I won't hold you back. Lucia rolled her eyes at him, but gave a small nod. Then, a new problem occurred to her. How was she going to explain her relationship with Ethan to her colleagues? Half an hour later, Lucia brought Ethan back to where the other BSO agents were gathered. If he was going to stay, he'd have to deal with him eventually. Lucia casually glanced at the team, cleared her throat, and delivered the lines she'd rehearsed in her head. Ahem. Everyone, this is Ethan Xie of the CS Syndicate. He's here specifically to help us. For the time being, the BSO and the CS Syndicate are in a temporary partnership. These are special circumstances, so I hope that when the fighting starts, you'll all treat him as one of our own. After she spoke, a brief silence fell over the group. They all knew who Ethan Xie was. The BSO had been investigating the Xie and Thorne syndicates for ages. When Ethan had suddenly appeared and Lucia had anxiously pulled him away, they'd sensed something was off. The two of them, together, it just didn't look right. Ethan stood beside Lucia, blinking. Seeing the team's silence, he stepped forward and addressed them with a solemn expression. Esteemed seniors of the BSO, I'm sure you've all figured it out by now, so I won't hide it any longer. Hearing this, Lucia whipped her head around to stare at him in shock. You idiot, what are you doing? Our relationship can't be exposed yet. Before she could stop him, Ethan's next words tumbled out. Ethan, to be perfectly honest, the CS Syndicate has already gone straight. Huh? Lucia froze. Ethan continued, his face a mask of sincerity. As you all must have noticed recently, our syndicate is not the same as it once was. As the future heir, I, Ethan Xie, can guarantee to all of you that the CS Syndicate will be a law-abiding, upstanding organization from this day forward. We will cooperate with the BSO in all matters and contribute our strength to the bright future of Westlake City. In the days to come, I believe we will work hand in hand to create a new future and build a beautiful home here in Westlake. His tone was passionate, his delivery emotionally charged and incredibly infectious. By the end, his eyes were red, as if moved by the fiery sincerity of his own heart. It was like watching a motivational speaker at a corporate retreat. Clap, clap, clap. After his speech, without waiting for the BSO agent's reaction, Ethan began applauding himself. Then, someone from the BSO team started clapping with him. The applause gradually grew louder. In the end, all the agents were applauding, giving their approval to Ethan's speech. I always knew the CS Syndicate was different from the others. I was wondering why we haven't heard any negative reports about them lately. So this is why. Inspector Shang said we're already working with them. That must mean the director approves of the CS Syndicate too. This Ethan Xie seems like a good guy. In an instant, the agents were looking at Ethan with a degree of admiration. In their private discussions, they'd never had a particularly bad opinion of him. Ever since he started dating Lucia, he'd been steering the CS Syndicate to cooperate with the BSO in various ways, easing the tension between the two sides. So, they didn't feel much hostility toward him. Thank you. Thank you all. I will do my best, Ethan said, his eyes glistening with tears as he listened to their applause. In that moment, the tables had turned. Now it was Lucia who stood silently, her eyes wide with disbelief as she stared at Ethan. Could that speech have really come from this blockhead? He'd even managed to add his own dramatic flair, a tear welling up on cue. If she didn't know him so well, she might have been moved by his words herself. Suddenly, Lucia froze. There was something strangely familiar about Ethan's performance. She thought back. His posture, his tone. It was just like Leo Evans that night in the abandoned building, crying and wailing after killing those 4 men. That damn Leo. Lucia gritted her teeth. He's completely corrupted Ethan. Before Leo came to Westlake City, Ethan was nothing like this. Now, he was pulling off this whole act of lying and theatrics with practiced ease. He was even better at it than his teacher. Leo couldn't even squeeze out a real tear, but Ethan could cry on command. Thank you, everyone. I will stand with you all, live or die, and fight alongside my brothers until the very end. Ethan raised a clenched fist high above his head. For Westlake City. For Westlake City, the agents echoed. On the sly, Ethan flashed Lucia an okay sign. Handled. Lucia pressed her fingers to her forehead and sighed deeply. The process had been ridiculous, but at least the outcome was good. The BSO agents no longer rejected Ethan, which was undoubtedly a good thing for the two of them. But Lucia wasn't getting her hopes up. She knew the biggest obstacle to their relationship was still her father, the director of the Westlake City BSO, Director Shang. If he didn't approve, it wouldn't matter how much the other agents liked Ethan. All right, let's confirm the plan we just discussed one more time. Lucia clapped her hands, getting down to business. Team 1 is responsible for patrolling the perimeter to prevent the enemy from sneaking in. Team 2, hold your positions at our designated points. If you spot the enemy, open fire immediately. Everyone else, hear the shots, but hold your ground. Finally, Team 3, which I will lead, will move to support any team that makes contact and eliminate the enemy as quickly as possible. Report any other unusual situations to me immediately. Any questions? The BSO agents shook their heads. They had already gone over these arrangements. I have a small question. Ethan raised his hand with a sheepish grin. Which team am I on? Lucia shot him a glare. You're with me, she said curtly. Got it. Ethan had no more questions. Just as the teams were about to disperse, Lucia seemed to remember something. Wait, one more thing, she called out. During the engagement, if you run into a man named Leo Evans, do not attack him. He's on our side. However, do not approach him and do not team up with him. Whatever he does, you act like you didn't see it. Understood. The agents looked at each other, confused. They had no idea what she meant. Lucia saw their expressions and didn't quite know how to explain. Just do as I say. Don't get mixed up with that guy. As she spoke, she shot a pointed glance at Ethan, leaving no doubt who she was really talking to. Yes, Inspector Shang, the agents replied. They didn't understand why, but it was always best to follow orders. Thanks, man. No problem. Watch your step. Have a good one. Near Westlake University, Leo opened the car door and stepped out. He had no intention of actually going onto the campus. He was just here to survey the surrounding area. The university grounds were the BSO's home turf, and unless something special came up, he wasn't setting foot in there. After all, he was a law-abiding citizen. Leo's mission was to lead the special operations team in an ambush on the perimeter in case the Warren Collective launched a surprise attack. He walked for several blocks without seeing a soul. The BSO had sealed off the nearby roads ahead of time, claiming it was for construction. The Uber he'd just taken couldn't even drive all the way in. TSK, isn't this basically screaming to Donovan Vance that the whole place is a trap? Leo muttered to himself. If he has half a brain, he won't come, right? He clicked his tongue, stuck his hands in his pockets, and pulled out a lollipop. Popping it in his mouth, he swaggered down the street like he owned the place, the very picture of a neighborhood delinquent. After a quick lap, Leo realized there weren't many good spots for an ambush. He did, however, find an excellent sniper's nest. From that vantage point, he could see everything, a clear, unobstructed view of the entire network of streets and alleys. The only drawback was that it was too high and too far. Factoring in wind speed, it was nearly impossible for any sniper to hit a target accurately from that position. But for Leo, that wasn't a problem. He had cheats. He was just about done with his reconnaissance and ready to head back when he suddenly spotted a figure standing in the mouth of an alley across from the university. Huh, what you doing here? Leo frowned slightly, then moved forward, approaching her without a sound. At the alley entrance, Melina Thorne was wearing a baseball cap, her gaze fixed intently ahead. She was so focused that she didn't notice Leo had come up right behind her. What are you looking at? Leo asked suddenly. Ah, Melina jumped, startled. When she turned and saw Leo's face, she finally relaxed. You're still alive? She said, astonished. Is that any way to talk? Where are your manners? Leo grumbled around his lollipop. So in your eyes, I'm supposed to be dead? And no, that's not what I meant. Melina waved her hands frantically. I just meant, after what you did yesterday, you actually managed to escape. And survive. What did I do last night? Leo asked innocently. Last night, other than staying home and watching a movie with my girlfriend, I didn't do a thing. What? Melina's eyes went wide. You carried out an assassination and a bombing yesterday, and you have the nerve to say you didn't do anything? Hey, I'm warning you. Don't go around slandering people. Leo took the lollipop out of his mouth and pointed it at her. Assassination? Bombing? I have no idea what you're talking about. Wasn't it a gas leak explosion at your family's place yesterday? Now you're blaming that on me? Is there no justice in Westlake City? Can you big syndicates just frame people however you want? Leo's tone was so natural, it was as if he really had just been watching a movie at home. Listening to him, Melina could only think how shameless this person was. If she hadn't seen him in her room last night, she might have actually believed his pack of lies. How could Ethan be friends with someone like this? In her eyes, Ethan was a kind and straightforward person, nothing like Leo. What? You say Ethan isn't a good person either? You don't know anything. You don't understand him. What right do you have to judge him? So what are you doing here? Leo asked, looking at her quizzically. Didn't your family ground you? Did they let you out? No, I snuck out during the chaos last night, Melina whispered. Leo raised an eyebrow, giving her a meaningful look. Snuck out? Mason Thorne must be getting careless. His family was large enough, with enough manpower, that they had managed to corner Leo himself, who had barely escaped. And yet this little girl was able to slip out without a hitch. Leo just smiled and said nothing. So, what are you doing here? He asked again. Melina looked down at her palm. Leo then noticed she was clutching a small, delicate lantern flower. Today is the Festival of Lights. I wanted to give this to Ethan, but he won't see me, so can you give it to him for me? Melina held the lantern flower out to Leo. Beneath the brim of her cap, her bright eyes held a hint of defiance. Leo looked at the flower in her hand, but didn't take it. Instead, he sighed. Little sister, why do you have to do all this? What's so great about Ethan Sia? Even after all this, you still can't give up? No. Melina shook her head gently. I've thought it through, and I've made my decision. From now on, I won't bother him anymore. The only thing I want to do now is get this flower into his hands. After that, Ethan and I are finished. Hearing this, Leo narrowed his eyes. After a long moment of hesitation, a mischievous idea struck him. How about this? You call me Big Brother Leo, and I'll deliver it for you. Deal. Melina said nothing, just stared at him quietly. The smile froze on Leo's face. After a moment, he looked down and sighed deeply. I really don't get you people. With that, he reached out and took the lantern flower. Seeing as your family's gas tank exploded and you're all so pathetic, I'll reluctantly agree to help you. Thank you. After thanking him, Melina turned and left without a second thought. Where are you going? Leo asked. With her back to him, Melina said softly, home. You're going home now? Leo frowned. Don't you know why your father deliberately let you escape? I know, she whispered. That's why I have to go back. Her expression was somber as she continued. My last name is Thorne. I am Melina of the Thorne family. No one can change that. Everyone in my family was there for me as I grew up. They loved me, spoiled me, and always cared for me. I may not have been the most mature, but I know that the family is now facing a life-or-death crisis. I can't be a deserter at a time like this. If we live, I will live with the Thorne family. If we die, I will die with them. Leo was stunned for a moment. He watched her retreating back, feeling a surge of emotion. This little girl had grown up overnight. Melina was gone. Leo looked down at the lantern flower in his hand, a little wistful. It was actually quite beautiful. Maybe he should just pretend he made it and give it to Ava? Of course, he was only kidding. He knew how much emotion Melina had poured into this little flower. He imagined that what she really wanted was to give it to Ethan herself. All the feelings, the effort, the sleepless nights that had gone into making it. And in the end, she couldn't even see the person it was for, forced to ask a near stranger to deliver it. The thought made Leo's own heart ache. He almost wanted to chew Ethan out. A total player. Not like him. He was completely devoted to his Ava, never straying. The very model of an outstanding boyfriend. With a soft sigh, Leo looked toward Westlake University and thought for a moment. I should probably hold on to this for now and give it to Ethan after this is all over. What if Ethan died in the battle? Then he wouldn't have to go through the trouble of delivering it, saving everyone another round of heartache. Besides, Lucia and Ethan were together right now. If he were to waltz in there, in front of Lucia, and hand the flower to Ethan, saying, "This is from your dear Melina," Leo was certain Ethan would try to kill him, and Lucia would try to kill Ethan. It would be a tragedy. For the sake of his own life and Ethan's, Leo decided it was best to find a more appropriate time to hand it over. TSK, time for lunch. Leo walked out of the cordoned-off streets, hailed an Uber, and headed back to the Sia residence. The chef had already prepared a massive inferno burrito, just waiting for his return. Nothing was more important than food. A man couldn't fight on an empty stomach. Half an hour later, Leo arrived back at the Sia estate. Everyone was already in the dining room, eating. When Ava saw him, she gave a cold snort and ignored him. Clearly, she was still mad about what had happened that morning. After kicking Leo out, she had tried to go back to sleep, but the more she thought about it, the angrier she got. She couldn't stop replaying the image of Leo's hand on her. If she hadn't woken up, would he have? At the thought, her face flushed red again. "You're back." Julian, however, didn't notice his sister's odd behavior. In his mind, Leo wouldn't dare. "Yeah, went to meet with Alex Young," Leo said, nodding. He sat down next to Ava and stole a glance at her, trying to see if she was still angry. "Huh, why is her face red? Is she that pissed?" Leo assumed she was blushing from anger. He had no idea her mind was a million miles away, lost in fantasies about him and her in bed. She was so distracted she was barely paying attention to her food. Thinking she was still mad, Leo didn't dare provoke her. He ate his burrito while striking up a conversation with Mr. Sia. "Mr. Sia, I ran into Ethan this morning. Looks like he went over to West Lake University." "I know, Mr. Sia nodded, looking resigned. "A son's heart will go where it wants. Let him be. It's not like he's much of a fighter anyway, just throws a few little knives. The syndicate is the same with or without him. His absence doesn't affect our combat strength." He sounded completely unconcerned. "TSK, Mr. Sia, it's a lot more dangerous over there than it is here," Leo said. "If I'm not mistaken, Donovan Vance will probably send the Thorne family to deal with you, while focusing his main force on the university. You're not worried about Ethan at all?" "What's there to worry about?" Mr. Sia wiped his mouth with a napkin and said coolly, "Kids will make their own way. No kids, and I get my way." Hearing this, everyone gave Mr. Sia a thumbs up. Now, that was a man who knew how to live. No wonder he and Anthony Reed were friends. Birds of feather. The group continued their cheerful meal, completely lacking any sense of urgency about the impending battle. Julian was even thinking about taking an afternoon nap. Since Donovan Vance hadn't made a move yet, they might as well relax. Leo discreetly poked Ava. She turned and glared at him. "What?" Leo gave her a pathetic look. "I was wrong." Ava's eyes narrowed. "Wrong about what?" "Leo, everything." "Ava, humph." She turned back to her food, refusing to make eye contact again. She had decided she wasn't going to speak to him for the rest of the day. Leo pouted, taking a sad bite of his burrito. It was his hand's fault, so why was he getting blamed? He didn't know why his hand had snuck under her shirt. He was just going with the flow, giving his palm a little exercise. Why was he being called a pervert for that? The more Leo thought about it, the more justified he felt. "That's right, I did nothing wrong. It was my hand's fault. What does that have to do with Leo Evans?" Ava had clearly wronged him. Leo made up his mind. If Ava didn't apologize, he wouldn't talk to her for the rest of the day either. And so, after lunch, they both went back to their own rooms without saying a word, each waiting for the other to apologize. Meanwhile, at the Thorne estate, thanks to the explosion last night, the place was a wreck. Aside from the cafeteria, it was hard to find a single building still intact. But they were grateful, at least for the cafeteria. Otherwise, they wouldn't even have a place to eat. Kate arrived and went straight to Mason Thorne. "Mason, are your men ready?" "Mr. Cade, you can see the state we're in." Mason's face was etched with grief. Last night's explosion caused catastrophic losses. While we didn't have any casualties, almost all of our combat supplies were destroyed. We can't even scrape together enough firearms. We simply don't have the ability to take on the CS Syndicate anymore. Cade frowned. "Are you planning to defy Mr. Vance's orders?" No, I would never," Mason said quickly. "It's just that we're powerless. If we attack the CS Syndicate in our current state, our chances of winning are far too low." Then, Mason's tone shifted. "But if Mr. Vance could provide us with combat supplies, then we might still have a fighting chance." Cade stared at him intently for a long moment, then said in a low voice, "How many guns and how much ammo do you need?" "Well, the more the better, of course," Mason said with a sheepish grin. Cade turned and made a phone call. A minute later, he hung up and faced Mason. "Mr. Vance will have someone send the supplies over shortly. That's wonderful news. Please thank Mr. Vance for me, Mason said, his face beaming. Mason, you'd better not try anything funny, Kate said sternly. If you dare betray Mr. Vance, you know the consequences. Mason looked shocked. How could I ever entertain such a thought? My loyalty to Mr. Vance is as clear as day. Why would I betray him? Kate stared at him for another long moment before saying flatly, You'd better mean that. With that, Kate turned and left to meet the supply delivery. Mason watched his retreating back, the smile slowly vanishing from his face. 2.5 hours later, at the Sierra residence, Leo and Ava were in their respective rooms. Separated by a single wall, they both sat on their beds, staring blankly at their phones, their postures identical. TSK still won't apologize. Stubborn, Leo muttered to himself, looking at the phone resting in front of him. He was waiting for Ava to apologize to him. It had been hours since they'd spoken. Ava was mad because Leo hadn't apologized to her. Leo, on the other hand, felt he was innocent. It was his hand's fault, so Ava should be the one apologizing to him. They had been in a standoff for a full 2 hours. Jerk, pervert, clueless idiot pig. In her room, Ava was muttering a stream of insults. She could now curse Leo for minutes on end without repeating herself. After a while, her throat felt dry. She picked up a glass of water, downed it, and lay back on her bed, staring at the ceiling. Is it that hard to just say you're sorry? Ava pouted, her voice a whisper. It's not like I wouldn't forgive you. You could just humor me a little, but you can't even do that. Leo, you big dummy. Little did she know, not only was Leo not thinking about apologizing, he was actually expecting an apology from her. The world had truly turned upside down. If Ava knew what was going through his head, she would probably storm into his room, tackle him, and beat the ever-living crap out of him. She'd beat him so badly she'd take Julian's last name if he could get out of bed afterward. Ping! A notification sound came from his phone. Leo jolted and snatched it up. Had Ava finally given in? But it wasn't her. The message was from Julian, just 2 words. Time to move. Seeing the message, Leo knew it was time for the Burrito King to make his move. With a soft sigh, Leo got up, grabbed the sniper rifle leaning against the wall, and opened his door. Creak! At the same moment, Ava's door opened as well. You, be careful out there, Ava said softly, standing in her doorway and looking at him. If you can't win, just run. You hear me? Clearly, she had heard his door open and knew he was leaving. She couldn't stop herself from coming out. Leo turned and looked at her quietly for a few seconds. Then a small smile touched his lips. He decided to forgive her. Since she had spoken first, it meant she knew she was wrong. Leo, being the magnanimous person he was, decided to let her off the hook this time. But this is the last time. Leo walked back, wrapped an arm around her, and used his other hand to gently stroke her head. Then he leaned down and gave her a light kiss on the lips. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. Okay, Ava whispered, her face slightly flushed as she nodded. Fine, I'll forgive this big pig this time, she thought. However, that thought was immediately shattered by Leo's next words. Leo looked at the hand he'd just used to pat her head and raised an eyebrow. Whoa, you're shedding a lot. Huh. Ava blinked, stunned for a moment. A few seconds later, she bit her lip and pushed herself out of his embrace. Then she aimed a kick at him. Leo agilely dodged it. You dare dodge. Ava fumed, even more enraged. Seeing that things were about to get ugly, Leo beat a hasty retreat. Ava, I gotta go. See you later. He vanished like the wind, leaving Ava stomping her foot in frustration, completely helpless. Ava swore that if she ever forgave Leo again, she was a puppy. Then, she reached up and touched her hair. There's nothing falling out. She mumbled, feeling wronged. Why did everyone say she was losing her hair? It was slander, pure slander. Oomph. Ava snorted and turned back into her room. She made up her mind. The moment Leo got back, she was going to beat him so badly he wouldn't be able to get out of bed. For 3 whole days and nights. Phew, good thing I'm fast. Having escaped, Leo patted his chest in relief. He was wrong. He would admit it. As a boyfriend, he shouldn't have pointed out his girlfriend's hair loss to her face. A truly considerate boyfriend would have secretly bought her a bottle of anti-hair loss shampoo to protect her beautiful locks, then faded into the background, his good deed hidden from the world. Leo deeply understood his mistake. So, he decided he would buy a bottle of shampoo on his way back to smooth things over with Ava. TSK, with a boyfriend as thoughtful as me, Ava's going to be head over heels, right? Leo smiled confidently. Once that was settled, getting her to cook for him would be a piece of cake. And once she was cooking, the dowry would be a mere formality. And once the dowry was handled, the marriage certificate was as good as in his hands. And with a marriage certificate, not only would he get his course credit, but he and Ava could spend their days in shameless bliss. In that moment, Leo's mind was crystal clear. In other words, buying Ava shampoo was equivalent to marrying her and living a life of shameless bliss. Proof complete. Graduation. TSK, I'm just that good. Leo gave a modest smile and muttered, if it were that idiot Ethan, he'd be totally lost in a situation like this. He'd never come up with a genius idea like mine. With a confident swagger, Leo carried the case containing his sniper rifle and walked out of the Sia residence. He was already contemplating which brand of shampoo to buy on his way back. TSK, this is a big decision, can't be sloppy. I'll look online later, see which shampoo is most effective for hair loss. Behind him, on an upper floor of the Sia house, Julian and Mr. Sia stood before a large window, silently watching him go. Why does he look so happy? Mr. Sia asked, puzzled. Wasn't he going out to fight? Why was he so cheerful, practically skipping? Anyone who didn't know better would think he was going out for a stroll. That's normal. He's Leo. After all, Julian said with a smile. Nothing he does surprises me anymore. Are you sure this is okay? Mr. Sia was still a little worried. That kid isn't exactly the stable type. He does whatever pops into his head. What if something unexpected happens? Julian just smiled and shook his head. Mr. Sia, you still don't understand Leo. What do you mean? If Leo is there, there's no what if. Julian's eyes narrowed slightly. There is only a certain that something unexpected will happen. Hearing this, Mr. Sia mechanically turned his head to stare at Julian, a series of large question marks appearing over his head. Huh? Then why did you let him go? Mr. Sia didn't get it. If he's that volatile, wouldn't it be better to keep him under our watch? It wouldn't work, Mr. Sia, Julian said with a wry smile. Back at the Crucible, wasn't Leo under my watch? And what happened? The guy completely ignored my plan and did everything according to his own bizarre logic. And yet, because of all the chaos he caused, my plan to take down the Phone Alliance in 2 weeks was accomplished in just a few days. So, let's just let him do his thing. We might get some unexpected results. Now that you put it that way, it does make a certain kind of sense. After hearing that explanation, Mr. Sia nodded in agreement. Leo's presence was a huge source of psychological pressure for both his allies and his enemies. His allies were nervous because they never knew what he was going to do. His enemies were nervous because they never knew what he was going to do to them. Looked at that way, the pressure was clearly greater on the enemy. Julian suddenly looked at Mr. Sia and added, besides, Director Jensen and the others are still holding things back from me, aren't they? Maybe they mean well, or maybe they're afraid I'll disrupt their plans, but it doesn't matter. We've already stepped into this vortex. There's no getting out now, is there? Hearing this, the expression on Mr. Sia's face slowly turned serious. He studied Julian carefully, and in that moment, he realized he might have truly underestimated this young man. How much? Do you know? Mr. Sia asked in a low voice. Probably more than you imagine. Julian smiled nonchalantly. After I started cooperating with the BSO, I gained access to a lot of files. They were interesting, officially decommissioned by the BSO, with nothing obvious on the surface. But after piecing things together, I found a lot of clues. Based on those clues and the recent movements of people like you, I was able to guess a few things. I think Director Jensen probably realized this, which is why he sent me to Westlake City. Because the moment I, and the Reed family behind me, found those things, we were already in the game. Mr. Sia fell into a long silence. If Julian wasn't bluffing, then Mr. Sia was truly envious. Anthony Reed's son was something else entirely. Mr. Sia knew what kind of person Director Jensen was. The files he would have left for Julian to access would have been nothing but irrelevant, discarded data. And Julian had managed to sift through that pile of garbage, find clues, and deduce what they were up to. Terrifying. So what have you deduced? Mr. Sia was still a bit skeptical. What if Julian was just spouting nonsense and hadn't actually figured anything out? Julian saw through his doubt. After a moment of thought, he spoke slowly, using Dr. Marks as bait to kill Donovan Vance. That's just a diversion. Your real target is Sterling all the way back at the Vance Dominion headquarters in New York City, isn't it? At those words, Mr. Sia's pupils contracted violently. He stared at Julian, his eyes wide. He really knows. You haven't told anyone else, have you? Mr. Sia asked nervously. If this leaked, their entire plan would be for nothing. Don't worry, Mr. Sia, Julian said softly. I'm not that foolish. Now that I know your plan, no one will hear a word about it from me. After all, I plan on working with you in the future. We might not be so sure we want to work with you, mister. Sia thought to himself. It was a good thing Julian was Anthony Reed's son. Otherwise, mister. Sia wouldn't dare let him live. He'd have nightmares. Damn it, did Anthony Reed save the galaxy in a past life or something? Or maybe Julian isn't his biological son. Maybe he was adopted? Mister. Sia thought that was a strong possibility. Neither Anthony Reed nor his wife, Julia, had this kind of intellect. Julia was smart, but not this ridiculously sharp. Mister. Sia decided he would find an opportunity to get them a paternity test. If it turned out Julian wasn't their biological son, he'd immediately adopt him as his godson. A brain like that was too valuable. Looking at Julian, an idea suddenly popped into Mr. Sia's head. If Leo had Julian's brain, then to hell with rescuing Sterling. They could just groom Leo to be the next Sterling. The BSO might even reach a whole new level. But that was just a fleeting thought. Mr. Sia wouldn't dare put the entire BSO in Leo's hands. With his personality, he'd probably turn around and sell the whole agency. Sigh, the new generation really does surpass the old, mister, Sia said with a bitter smile. He then looked at Julian. Have you ever considered joining the BSO? The Reed family is already working with us anyway. Why not just join us officially? Julian just smiled and shook his head. Mr. Sia, thank you for the offer, but my ambitions lie elsewhere. Oh, mister. Sia was curious. Then what is it you want? You might not believe me, but what I want is actually very simple. Julian paused. After Leo and my sister get married, I'm going to find a way to dump the Reed family business on him, and then I'll travel the world and enjoy my retirement. That's what I want. Hearing this, mister. Sia was stunned. He never would have thought that a person like Julian would want something so simple. Just travel and relax. Mister. Sia was incredulous. What else? Julian said with a wry smile. There's no need for me to lie to you, mister. Sia. The only reason I became the head of the Reed family is because that old man of mine bailed on his responsibilities, and I had no choice but to take over. I've never had any grand ambitions. All I've ever wanted is for my family to be safe and healthy. My sister, Kane, the rest of the family. And now even Leo. In my eyes, they're all my family. When they no longer need me, I can leave without any burdens. Julian sighed. I actually have Leo to thank for this. If it weren't for him, I don't know how long I would have had to wait to live that kind of life. The only challenge left was figuring out how to smoothly dump the Reed family onto Leo. Julian was ready to be the one bailing on his responsibilities for a change. On a street somewhere, Leo was on the phone with Alex Young. Alex, are your people in position? We're all here, hidden around West Lake University. Where are you? Almost there, almost there. I'm on my way. Hey, vendor, no cilantro on that. Cilantro? What's cilantro? Hearing that, Alex instantly knew something was wrong. Leo, tell me the truth. Where the hell are you? I'm buying an Inferno burrito, Leo said, multitasking. Don't worry, I'll definitely make it. It's not far from you guys, I'll just grab an Uber. Grab an Uber my ass, Alex yelled. We're all in hiding. You just waltz over in an Uber and we'll all be exposed. So what do I do? You don't expect me to walk, do you? How long would it take you to walk? About 2 hours. 2 hours. Alex did a quick mental calculation of the distance and pinpointed Leo's current location. You're still at the Sia estate, aren't you? Alex roared. Why are you yelling? I left the estate. I've already walked a whole block, Leo said, cleaning out his ear. Leo had intended to get there as quickly as possible, but he couldn't help it. The burrito food truck had called to him. After a half-second of internal debate, Leo figured he was already here, so it would be rude not to buy one. So he stopped to get a burrito. Do you know what time it is? And you're still thinking about your damn burrito. Alex seethed. You're the leader of this special operations team. What are we supposed to do without you? Hearing this, Leo fell silent. After a moment, he spoke again, his tone solemn. Alex, I have the utmost faith in your abilities. I believe that even in my absence, you can take good care of the team. Until I get there, you're in charge. I grant you the authority to command everyone. Go get him, Tiger. I believe in you. On the other end of the line, Alex was dumbfounded. He knew Leo was unreliable, but he never knew he was this unreliable. Leo, you son of a... How am I supposed to explain this to the team? Alex was at a loss for words. How was he supposed to tell them? Hey guys, our leader is busy buying a burrito, so he's handed command over to me. It was beyond absurd. Leo, you... Alex started to say something else. Beep. Leo had hung up. Alex stared at his phone in disbelief. After a long moment, he gritted his teeth, clenched his fist, and threw several punches at the empty air. Did I blow up the galaxy in a past life, or something? Alex muttered. That had to be it. That's why the universe sent Leo to torment him. He now understood why Director Jensen had insisted on putting him under Leo's command. Without him, this special operations team wouldn't last 3 days under Leo. It would be a complete disaster. Just then, 2 other members of the team approached him. "How's it going, Alex? Is Leo here yet?" they whispered. Alex was silent for a long time before finally saying, "He's still on his way. I'm in charge for now." To his surprise, both men let out an audible sigh of relief. "Thank God. It looks like we still have a chance." "Yeah, as long as Leo isn't the one giving orders, we're golden." The current special operations team was composed of people from the Reed family and the Ethelbert BSO. Both groups knew Leo all too well. His brain just didn't operate on the same wavelength as normal people. They were genuinely worried that in the middle of a firefight, Leo might suddenly order them to go buy burritos. It sounded ridiculous, but it wasn't impossible. This was Leo, after all. Hearing their comments, Alex's mouth twitched. He immediately understood his role. On paper, Leo was the leader of the special operations team. In reality, Alex handled almost everything, big and small. And now, he even had command authority. "Alex, the gopher." Sighing, Alex said resignedly, "Have everyone hold their positions for now. No one moves until the Warren Collective appears. Wait for my command." "You got it." The 2 men replied cheerfully and turned to leave. Alex was left alone, sighing to himself. What a damn mess. Wasn't there anyone who could share his burden? He remembered that Kane from the Reed family was also supposed to be in the special ops team. Where is he? At that moment, Kane was sitting on a sofa back at the Sierra residence, staring into space. Ever since Leo had requisitioned his sniper rifle, Kane had given up. As a sniper without a sniper rifle, what was he supposed to do? For this season, it was like his account had been banned. He couldn't even get a piece of the action. He'd just have to wait for the next season. Meanwhile, in Donovan Vance's hotel room, "Mr. Vance, everyone has arrived," Cole reported. "Cade has taken the Thorne family and surrounded the Sierra residence. The main force from New York has also arrived near Westlake University. As soon as you give the order, both sides can attack." Donovan didn't speak. He picked up his phone and checked the time. 6 o'clock in the evening. 2 hours until the 8 o'clock deadline they've been given. "Tell them to get ready. At 6:30 sharp, we storm them," Donovan said, his eyes filled with malice. "We find DR. Marks, no matter the cost. If we miss this chance, it'll be a lot harder to find him again." Cole nodded, then asked, "Mr. Vance, are we just going to stay in the hotel?" He noticed Donovan had no intention of leaving. "No, we're going out." "Just not yet," Donovan said. Just then, there was a knock at the door. "Knock, knock, knock." Cole's expression changed, instantly on alert. "Mr. Vance, we've got him," a voice said from outside. Hearing this, Donovan's eyes lit up. "Let him in." The door opened, and a man covered in blood was helped into the room, stumbling weakly. Cole frowned, studying the man. He looked familiar. "You're Zeke Phone," Cole exclaimed. "How did you escape?" "Cough, cough. The BSO has all their people at Westlake University. I took advantage of their weakened defenses and fought my way out." Zeke clutched a wound on his chest, his eyes burning as he looked at Donovan. He said, word by word, "Mr. Vance, I know where DR. March is going to escape from." As 6:30 arrived, a heavy atmosphere enveloped the Sierra residence. Outside, Mason Thorne had led his men and completely surrounded the estate. Upstairs, Julian watched the scene unfold. "They're later than I expected." "Mr. Sia nodded, a grim look in his eyes. He could see not only the Thorne family, but also Cade and several unfamiliar faces, likely reinforcement from the Vance Dominion. "Looks like I want to take my syndicate down quickly." "Mr. Sia grinned. Donovan Vance really is impatient. Is he that worried we'll interfere with his plans?" "Mr. Sia, I recall you saying that Mason Thorne contacted you earlier, correct?" Julian asked. "Yes, that old fox, Mr. Sia said with a gruff laugh. "He said he wants us to throw the fight. He wants us to hold back and wait for the results from Westlake University. If Donovan loses, he'll surrender unconditionally and help us take down the Vance Dominion." "And you agree?" Julian asked. "Of course. Why wouldn't I?" "Mr. Sia said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. That turncoat's behavior might be despicable, but no matter how you look at it, the pros outweigh the cons for us. The Thorne family won't fight with everything they have, so we just need to send out a few people to put on a show for them. We can focus on dealing with Cade and the Vance Dominion men. And even if Mason is lying, it doesn't matter. The Thorne family was always the enemy. We'll just fight them for real. As for his promise to surrender, we'll deal with that later. Once the Vance Dominion is gone, we can take our time finishing off the Thorne family." Julian nodded slowly, acknowledging the logic of the strategy. At the same time, he shook his head inwardly. Two old foxes. They really were full of schemes. One minute, they were close allies. The next, they were at each other's throats. And now, they were plotting behind Donovan's back. These old veterans of the underworld. Not a clean one among them. Well, let's go down and make an appearance, mister, CS said. The two of them went downstairs. The members of the CS syndicate were already assembled, their faces grim and ready for battle. Outside, Mason, Thorne, and Cade stood at the forefront, their gazes sharp, confident smiles on their faces. Seeing Mr. Siep here, Mason shouted from a distance, Siep, surrender now, and I might spare your life. For the sake of our many years of friendship, I urge you to lay down your arms and submit to Mr. Vance. Otherwise, today will be the end of the CS syndicate. Mr. Siep's mouth twitched. Mason really was something else. He could spew such nonsense without batting an eye. Submit to Mr. Vance? Who was it that was just whispering to him about taking down the Vance Dominion? Forget it, Mason. Mr. Siep roared back, his face a mask of fury. You dog of the Vance Dominion. How dare you deceive me for so long? I'll despise you for the rest of my life. No matter what happens to me, I, Siep, will never become a dog like you. Wagging my tail for Donovan Vance. If you don't wipe out my syndicate today, may you die a horrible death. I'll haunt you from the grave. All right, Siep, that's enough. Mason gritted his teeth, glaring at him and clenching his fists. You're taking this too far. This is all an act for Cade and the Vance men, and you're using it as an excuse to curse me out? And not just once, you're rubbing my face in it. You really think I won't stab you in the back for real? Mister, Siep didn't care. Backstab him then. Mason wasn't a good person anyway. Fighting one enemy or two, it was all the same to him. In all his life, in any fight, he had never backed down. If he hadn't had people cleaning up his messes, he would have been dead long ago. Nearby, Julian remained silent, his brow furrowed. His gaze pierced through the crowd, and he saw a group of men gathered around a large black crate. Strange, I didn't see that crate before. And it's so big. What's inside? Julian stared at the crate, which was nearly twice the height of a man, a sense of unease growing within him. Cade looked annoyed. If this kept up, were they ever going to fight? Enough talk. Let's move, he muttered to Mason. Mason nodded, raised a hand, and swung it down violently. Attack. Full assault. Full assault. At Westlake University, the main force of the Vance Dominion had begun their attack. Compared to the Vance men at the Sierra residence, this group was not only larger, but also composed of elite fighters. Nearly all of the Dominion's combat strength was concentrated here. Their weapons were also superior, with every man carrying an assault rifle. Damn, they're going in hard. Can the Westlake BSO hold them off? I doubt it. This is intense. The families from New York are on another level. The Vance Dominion is really putting everything on the line. With this many men, they could take down an Apex family in minutes. They're still our colleagues, technically. Shouldn't we do something? Do what? Alex said no one moves without his command. But isn't our leader Leo? What? You want him giving us orders? Never mind. Alex is fine. In the shadows, the members of the special operations team were watching the show like it was a movie, completely detached. There was nothing they could do anyway but chat. They should have brought a deck of cards. Bang, bang, bang. Boom. The once peaceful campus of Westlake University was now filled with the sounds of gunfire and explosions. The flowers and trees were all destroyed, not to mention the buildings. Some were just scarred with bullet holes, while others had been blown apart by grenades. One could only imagine the Westlake University president's reaction when he saw the aftermath. The BSO had promised to pay for damages, but they hadn't specified when. Lucia Shang was leading the BSO team, struggling to hold off the Vance Dominion's main force. Inspector Shang, they've broken through on the flank. Fourth squad, move to intercept. The rest of you, hold your positions. Lucia's face was smudged with dirt, her ponytail swishing behind her, her eyes filled with grim determination. Ethan was constantly on the move, throwing his knives from different positions at impossibly sharp angles. Without fail, every knife took down an enemy. The Vance men were caught off guard. It was the first time they'd encountered someone using throwing knives as a primary weapon on a battlefield like this. They were used to fighting based on muzzle flashes and the sound of gunfire, and they were having trouble adapting. As darkness fell, Ethan's black knives became even harder to see, and he threw them without a sound. He was fighting like a total rat. There was no way to defend against it. Focus fire on the knife thrower. After losing several men to Ethan, the Vance Dominion's team leader was furious. You think we can't deal with you? In an instant, countless rifles swiveled to aim at Ethan. Bang, bang, bang. The pressure on the other BSO agents immediately lessened. Ethan, however, was pinned behind a wall, not daring to move. He crouched in the corner and yelled, "Hey, no honor. Using guns against a guy with throwing knives? What kind of heroes are you? Put down your guns and let's settle this one-on-one." The Vance men ignored him. With that, Ethan was completely neutralized. A look of desperation crept into Ethan's eyes. At this rate, Lucia and the others wouldn't be able to hold out for much longer. Crack! Just then, a single bullet tore through the air and struck one of the Vance men square in the forehead. No one thought much of it, assuming the man had just been unlucky. But then, several more men suddenly dropped, all with the exact same wound, a bullet hole in the center of their foreheads. The Vance men finally realized something was wrong. "Captain, we've got a sniper. Those shots came from a sniper." Hearing this, the Vance captain frowned. Where had a sniper come from all of a sudden? But there was no time to think about that now. Find cover. Move. With a sniper in play, they could no longer afford to be exposed. The Vance Dominion's rate of fire dropped significantly. Find the sniper's position. "Captain, the distance is too great. We can't get a lock." "Then close the distance and find him," the captain roared. "A portion of you, go find that sniper. The rest, continue the attack." "Yes, sir." A dozen Vance men broke off from the main group and began moving in the direction of the sniper fire. In the shadows, the members of the Special Operations team started chattering again. "Whoa, damn. The BSO has a sniper that good. Seriously, I thought they were about to fold. That sniper just saved them." With the Vance forces split like this, the BSO can seize the opportunity to counterattack. So who is that sniper anyway? Who knows? All I know is we're supposed to hold our position. Hold our position, my ass. Alex was already cursing up a storm in his head. The others might not know who that sniper was, but how could he not? The only person with that kind of marksmanship who would pull a stunt like this was Leo Evans. But the key point was, weren't they supposed to hold off until the Warren Collective showed up? Leo himself had given Alex that order. And now, the first person to open fire was Leo, the leader of the Special Operations team. So what were they supposed to do now? Attack or stay put? On a distant rooftop, Leo lay prone, his sniper rifle propped up, steadily pulling the trigger. There were still traces of grease around his mouth. He had clearly just finished his Inferno burrito. Halfway through firing, Leo froze. "This shit. Didn't Julian tell me not to make any rash moves?" Leo was momentarily confused. Was it too late to stop now? Of course it was. In the distance, the dozen-man death squad from the Vance Dominion was already running toward him. Even though they were far away, Leo had fired so many shots that his general position was now exposed. "TSK, this is all Ethan's fault," Leo grumbled. If it weren't to save Ethan, he wouldn't have made a move. He just finished his burrito, hadn't even wiped his mouth, and the first thing he saw was the BSO and Ethan getting steamrolled. Without a second thought, he'd whipped out his rifle and started shooting. His actions had freed up Ethan and relieved the pressure on the BSO, but Alex was having a complete meltdown. To get to Leo's position, the enemy squad had to pass right through their hiding spot. They were going to be discovered. The Warren Collective hadn't even shown up, and they were about to have their cover blown. Who was ambushing whom here? Damn it. "Alex, what do we do now? Those guys are heading this way. We're going to be found. What's the call? Stay put or engage? Maybe we should stay put. What if they don't see us?" The team members were all calling Alex over their comms. Alex gripped his radio tightly. After a long moment, he roared into it, "Stay put, my ass. Are you going to wait for them to squat over your head and take a crap? You think you're a bunch of turtles just hiding in your shells? Everyone on my command. We're done hiding. We engage." At his words, everyone's spirits lifted. They had been itching for a fight. Watching the BSO get pushed back was painful. So, just as the dozen Vance men were about to reach them, the members of the Special Operations team burst out of hiding. Tank, in particular, was at the very front of the charge. "Damn it, it's an ambush. Shit, fall back. Fall back." But it was too late. Now that they had entered this area, Alex had no intention of letting them leave alive. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. The two sides clashed in the alley. Thanks to the surprise attack, the small Vance squad was cut in half right at the start. They were no match for Alex and his team. From a distance, Leo saw what was happening. He knew the Special Ops team had made their move. That meant he didn't have to hold back anymore. Time to go all out. He'd just say Alex gave the order. After all, he'd given him command authority. Leo continued to pull the trigger. With Alex's team providing covering fire, he was able to fire several shots without any pressure, wiping out the rest of the dozen-man squad. "Move to support the BSO," Alex commanded without hesitation. They had to use this opportunity to hit the Vance forces from the front and back. However, just as they charged out of the alley, screech, several large trucks came speeding toward them from a distance. Bang, bang, bang. The trucks were filled with armed men who opened fire on Alex's team, forcing them back into the alley. A sense of dread washed over Alex. This was bad. The Warren Collective was here. The situation was not good. The plan had been for the Warren Collective to show themselves first, allowing his team to ambush them and catch them off guard. Now, the roles were reversed. They were the ones who had revealed themselves first. Don't engage head-on. Fall back, Alex yelled. The Warren Collective's trucks sped forward and screeched to a halt at the entrance to Westlake University. Seeing this, the Vance Dominion's captain breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, with the Warren Collective covering their rear, they were no longer in danger of being caught in a pincer attack. They can now focus all their attention on dealing with the BSO. The author has been busy these past few days, so for now, it's 2 chapters a day. Mwah. Alex, what's the plan? Tank yelled over his shoulder, laying down cover fire. The Warren Collective had come out in full force this time, pinning them in the alley. The firefight was a dead stalemate. They could hold the Warrens here, but the BSO agents back at the university couldn't. If this dragged on and the BSO line collapsed, the Vance Dominion would be free to mop them up. They'd be screwed. Shut up, I'm thinking. Alex snapped, crouched behind the others, his mind racing. They were completely on the defensive, a position they were never supposed to be in. Just then, his phone buzzed. Alex scowled. Who the hell was calling him now? He was about to ignore it, but he pulled out his phone and glanced at the screen. Leo Evans. Son of a bitch. You got a lot of nerve calling me right now. What? Spit it out. Tense are we? Leo's voice was casual. Tell Tank and the others to fall back. Don't want them getting caught in the crossfire. What does that mean? What are you planning? Be specific. That's all. Bye. Leo hung up. Alex saw red. That son of a bitch did it again. Hanging up without any explanation. Did he have any manners at all? But at this point, Alex was out of options. Worst case scenario, they all died together. Everyone fall back, he roared. His team frowned. Retreat now? In the middle of a fight. Move it. Leo said he's worried you'll get hurt. The moment he said that, the hesitation vanished. The team scrambled back without a second thought. That phrase was more effective than any direct order. If Leo was saying they might get hurt, then falling back a little probably wasn't enough. They needed to fall back a lot. Strange. Why are they retreating? Are they that gutless? They're just abandoning the BSO. After them. Don't let them escape. The boss's orders were to leave no one alive. Yes, sir. The Warren Collective's men began to advance. Just then, far away on a rooftop, Leo smiled as he looked through his scope and saw a small, white shadow dart across the ground. Let's give them a fireworks show to remember. He gently squeezed the trigger. Crack. Unlike his previous shots, this bullet wasn't aimed at a person. Its target was an empty patch of ground right at the feet of the Warren Collective soldiers. On that supposedly empty patch of ground, a small package of explosives had mysteriously appeared. The Warren soldiers didn't notice a thing. The bullet tore through the air and struck the package dead on. Boom! A massive explosion ripped through the center of their formation, sending the men scattering in panic. What the hell? Where did that come from? Is that sniper firing bullets or grenades? Everyone calm down, reform the line. It was just an accident. Before the man could finish, Leo fired again. Boom! Another explosion erupted in their ranks. Leo was proving with deadly efficiency that it was no accident. Shit, something's wrong. Spread out. If they stayed clustered together, a few more blasts like that would finish them for good. All thoughts of pursuit vanished, replaced by sheer panic. The Warren commander's face was slick with cold sweat. What the hell was going on? Cats. It's the cats, someone finally screamed, pointing a trembling finger. Damn it, it's those cats. They're the ones bringing the explosives. There's more than one. There are dozens of them. They're too fast. We didn't even see them. Don't shoot them. If you hit the explosives, they'll detonate. This is insane. What is happening? From a safe distance, Alex and his team stared, their minds completely short-circuiting. Every few seconds, a stray cat would sprint into the Warren formation, drop a small package, and bolt. Then, a single shot from Leo would detonate it. He had somehow turned a sniper rifle into a long-range grenade launcher. Are those cats also part of our special ops team? Tank asked, his voice filled with awe. This was next-level stuff. He felt like a hick seeing the big city for the first time. His world had just been turned upside down. He wasn't alone. At that moment, everyone, Alex's team and the Warren Collective alike, was having their minds blown. Who the hell uses cats in a firefight? Who taught you how to command them like this? No, wait. Who was commanding these strays? In a hidden corner nearby, Sir Reginald Fluffington stood guard over a pile of small explosive charges. Leo had specifically divided the C4 into smaller, cat-portable packages. Right now, the stray cats were lined up like a feline suicide squad. One by one, they approached Reggie, dutifully picked up a package in their mouths, and shot off to wreak havoc on the Warren Collective. Reggie even offered words of encouragement. Meow. Mro. Charge. 4 tuna treats. Mro. For the treats. The members of the feline brigade yowled back before sprinting off with their deadly cargo. This was, without a doubt, the feline brigade's finest hour. Crack boom, crack boom. Now, every shot Leo fired was followed by an explosion. And they weren't small, either. This was BSO Grade C4, a world away from the cheap stuff the Reeds used. The Special Ops team was dumbfounded. The Warren Collective was broken. How were they supposed to fight this? It was cheating. The enemy was using cheat codes. Back on the Westlake University campus, the Vance Dominion soldiers were pressing their attack on the BSO agents, gaining momentum. Suddenly, they heard a series of explosions behind them. What's that noise? The Vance captain took a moment to glance back. He sucked in a sharp breath. Was he hallucinating? What the hell was he seeing? Was that a pack of cats? No. Why were there cats here? The Vance captain froze, completely forgetting to give orders as he stared at the chaos engulfing the Warren Collective. Boom! Another explosion echoed across the campus, followed by the agonized screams of Warren soldiers. The Vance captain's eye twitched. He squinted, observing the scene for a long moment before he finally understood. The cats were causing the explosions. Holy shit, they're cheating. He couldn't imagine what they would do if they were in the Warren Collective's position. They'd be dead meat. Their only option would be to retreat, but with a sniper that had an impossibly long range covering the field, a retreat would be a massacre. Move it, you idiots! The Warrens are useless. They won't last much longer. The Vance captain roared, his earlier confidence replaced by a surge of adrenaline-fueled panic. If we don't break them now, we're all dead. If the Warren Collective was wiped out, they'd be next. The explosions and screams from behind felt like a death clock, ticking down the seconds until it was their turn. A cold sweat drenched his back. Alex's special ops team stood in the mouth of the alley, watching the chaos unfold. They were all thinking the same thing. Thank God they had retreated when they did. Otherwise, they'd be the ones getting blown to bits. So, are we supposed to go back in? One of them asked. It felt wrong to just stand here and watch. The others shot him a dirty look. Go in? Who the hell would dare go in now? Could you guarantee those cats wouldn't drop a bomb on you? They didn't know the specifics, but they were certain this was Leo's handiwork. It was just that absurd. Man, I told you we should have just bought a deck of cards. Someone sighed. The fight had barely started, and they were already spectators. Just moments ago, they were fired up, having taken down a few Vance Dominion soldiers. They'd been ready to charge out and dominate, only to get pushed back by the Warrens. Frustrated, they were about to dig in for a real gunfight when Leo's call came. Looking back, they hadn't really accomplished anything. What else could they do? They were helpless. The area where the Warrens were fighting was now a goddamn minefield. No one dared get close. The Warren soldiers didn't dare retreat either. Their boss had given them a direct order with no room for failure. If they fell back now, it wasn't just their lives on the line, their families would pay the price. Their only hope was for the Vance Dominion to break through and reinforce them. God damn it. Hurry up. How are they taking so long to kill a few BSO agents? And they call themselves an Apex family from New York. The Warren soldiers were cursing the Vance Dominion in their hearts. Little did they know, the Vance soldiers were praying they'd hold out just a little longer. Holy crap, Leo is a legend. Ethan Sia exclaimed from his position, watching the scene unfold. He knew instantly. Only Leo could pull off something this insane. Lucia, we just have to hold on a little longer, he said excitedly. Lucia, however, shot him a furious glare, panting for breath. Easy for you to say. Do you have any idea the kind of pressure we're under? Ever since the Vance Dominion soldiers saw what was happening to the Warrens, they'd gone berserk, attacking with a suicidal desperation. It was a race against time now. Lucia scanned their surroundings, took a deep breath, and shouted, "Call back the other units." Her eyes glinted as she stared at the battlefield ahead. It's been long enough. You should be gone by now, right? Meanwhile, on a small path winding through the wooded hills behind Westlake University, an old man with salt and pepper hair walked alongside a young student. They were flanked by more than a dozen BSO agents, heading toward a hidden exit. "Careful, Professor," Henry Yin said, steadying Dr. Quentin Marks with a worried look. The distant sound of gunfire had reached them long ago. Though Henry hadn't asked, he knew they were in grave danger. I'm fine. Just slipped a little, Dr. Mark said with a smile, breathing heavily. He was old, and reaching the hidden tunnel required crossing this hill. His body wasn't built for this kind of exertion. I am sorry, he said, his forehead beaded with sweat, apologizing to the agents around him. I'm slowing everyone down. But no matter how tired he was, Dr. Marks never loosened his grip on the briefcase he carried. Henry glanced at it. He knew what was inside. 3 vials of the gene serum, the product of 3 sleepless days and nights, using up every last bit of their materials. To Dr. Marks, that briefcase was more important than anything. It could not fall into enemy hands. After a little while longer, they finally reached the summit. From here, the path would be easier. The hidden tunnel was just ahead. Dr. Mark stood on the peak and looked back at his laboratory in the distance. Such a shame, he sighed. When they left, all the data and equipment in the lab had been destroyed, leaving not a single trace behind. It's okay, Professor, Henry said softly. We'll get a new lab. A new lab? Dr. Mark just gave a weary smile, saying nothing. He took a deep, final breath, as if trying to pull all the surrounding air into his lungs. All right, Professor, we should go, one of the BSO agents said. The words had barely left his mouth when a volley of gunshots erupted. PFFT. Bullets tore through the air, carefully avoiding Dr. Marks and Henry. By the time they processed what was happening, all the BSO agents protecting them were dead on the ground. Dr. Quentin Marks, you've been a hard man to find. A deep voice echoed from ahead. Dr. Marks and Henry turned to see Donovan Vance standing there, a triumphant smile on his face. Cole and Zeke Foam flanked him, backed by a squad of armed Vance Dominion soldiers. They were the ones who had just opened fire. The moment Dr. Marks saw him, his eyes blazed with fury. He gritted his teeth. Donovan, Vance. From your tone, Professor, it sounds like you hate me. Donovan chuckled sinisterly. Why did you have to kill them? Dr. Marks demanded, pointing at the fallen BSO agents. You brought all these men. You could have taken me easily. Why the slaughter? Donovan paused for a second, then let out a derisive laugh. Professor, after all these years, you're still so kind, so compassionate. If you cared so much about their lives, why did you hide away here at Westlake University? Donovan's gaze shifted to the briefcase in Dr. Marks's hand, and his eyes lit up with a feverish glow. Is that a new gene serum in there? He stared at Dr. Marks excitedly. I can't believe you actually did it. It seems fate itself is on the Vance Dominion side. Come, Dr. Marks, come back with me to the Vance estate. There, your intellect can be put to its greatest use. You can continue your research, and the Vances will provide you with everything you could ever need. Before Donovan could finish, Henry Yin stepped forward, shielding Dr. Marks and glaring at him. In your dreams, the professor is not going with you. Henry, Dr. Marks whispered, looking at the young man standing before him. He could see Henry's body trembling slightly. It was a lie to say Henry wasn't afraid, but he couldn't show it. If they wanted to take Dr. Marks, they would have to step over his dead body. He knew that if the professor was taken, his fate would be a grim one. Donovan frowned, glancing at Henry. He didn't know who this student was, nor did he care. He sighed softly, pointed at Henry, and said flatly, "Kill him." Stop. Seeing Donovan's men about to kill Henry, Dr. Marks cried out, "Donovan, let him go, and I'll go back with you." "Professor, I won't let them take you," Henry said, turning back quickly. At that, Donovan raised a hand, and his men halted. He looked at Dr. Marks with disdain, a mocking smile playing on his lips. "Professor, you seem to have misunderstood something. You are in no position to bargain with me. Even if I kill this student of yours right now, what could you possibly do about it?" Dr. Marks took a deep breath and held up the briefcase for Donovan to see. "You guessed right. This contains the gene serum. However, this case is custom-made. It cannot be opened without the correct passcode. Any attempt to force it open will result in the immediate destruction of the contents. So, Donovan, if you dare to kill my student, you will never get your hands on this serum." Donovan fell silent, studying Dr. Marks. To him, Henry was irrelevant, just a nobody, incapable of making waves. But to lose the serum just to kill him would be a foolish trade. Hey, you really are something, Professor, Donovan said with a light, mocking clap. He looked at Henry. You just bought yourself a life. Get lost. Henry stood his ground, unmoving, glaring at Donovan. Even now, he refused to leave. "Professor, I'm letting your student go," Donovan said with a shrug, his expression feigning helplessness. "If he doesn't want to leave, there's nothing I can do." Henry, Dr. Mark said softly. Henry turned to look at him. Dr. Mark's voice was grave. You have to go. It's not worth it for my sake. You are incredibly talented. Your future achievements in research will surpass my own. You shouldn't stay here and throw your life away for a stubborn old man. But Professor, Henry's eyes turned red, his words catching in his throat. Seeing this, Dr. Marks suddenly broke into a relaxed smile. He stepped forward and wrapped his arms around Henry in a gentle embrace, whispering in his ear, Go, my boy. If we both die here, who will use our new lab? We'd just be letting someone else have it for free. Don't worry. We will see each other again one day. Henry's eyes filled with tears, and he bit his lip hard. After a long moment, he gave a small nod. Professor, you have to come back. Don't worry. Your teacher is Quentin Marks, after all, he said, patting Henry's back with a smile. Don't take the hidden path. It's not safe. Go back the way we came. No matter what happens, don't look back. Find a BSO. They'll protect you. A short distance away, Donovan was growing impatient. Out of Donovan's line of sight, Dr. Marks quietly slipped something into Henry's pocket. Once you're completely safe, then you can open it. Understand? This is... Now go, Dr. Marks said, giving Henry another pat, urging him to leave. Henry gave his professor one last, long look, then turned and started back down the path they had come. Professor, take care of yourself. I'll be waiting for you. Dr. Marks watched Henry's retreating figure, his own eyes moist, but a smile remained on his face. Then, the smile vanished, replaced by grim resolve. He turned to Donovan. If anything happens to my student, the Vance Dominion will never get the gene serum. Donovan's eyes flickered. He had, in fact, been planning to have Henry secretly captured. Given the bond between them, Henry would have been excellent leverage to keep Dr. Marks compliant. But since the old man had made the threat, he couldn't be bothered. As long as he had Dr. Marks, that was enough. This way, Professor, Donovan said with a smile, clearing a path for him. Dr. Marks, clutching the briefcase, walked forward without expression. Donovan's men closed in around him, leaving no chance for escape. Donovan's heart pounded with excitement. After all these years, he finally had him, and the gene serum was an unexpected bonus. He could already see the Vance Dominion ruling over New York City. The most important thing now was to get Dr. Marks back to NYC in one piece. Everything else was secondary. What Donovan didn't know was that their every move was being watched. On a tall building far away, a man lowered a pair of binoculars, a heavy sigh escaping his lips. Donovan Vance has taken Dr. Marks. A deep voice responded from beside him. That went much more smoothly than we planned. Thanks, Edwards. If you hadn't brought your people from Ethelberg, my side would have been completely overwhelmed. I wasn't helping you. Director Edwards grunted. Director Shang, this is the last time. If you hadn't mentioned Sterling, I wouldn't have even bothered with you. Director Shang gave a slight nod. After a moment, he asked, You coming all the way to Westlake City? Did the Van Cess not notice you were gone? Who do you take me for? Edwards scoffed. You think a little punk like Donovan Vance, barely out of his diapers, could track my movements? If he could, I'd have wasted all these years. He sighed, his gaze distant. It's a shame about Dr. Marks, though. It was his choice, Shang cut in. I gave him a chance. I told him the BSO could protect him after the serum was developed. But he refused. The only request he made of me was to look after his student. Edwards didn't seem surprised. He's had a death wish ever since the Manhattan incident. Perhaps, for him, this is a kind of release. Tell me about it, Shang said with a sigh. Ever since I brought him to Westlake, he was always talking about how he needed to go down and apologize to every single person who died because of him back then. To have a man like Quentin Marks in this era, I don't know if it's a blessing or a tragedy. He's stubborn as an old mule, Edwards added, nodding, always clinging to that ridiculous moral code of his. He wanted to stand above it all, to remain untouched by the filth, Edwards continued. But this era is nothing but filth. Perhaps it's this era that failed him. Crack, boom, as Dr. Marks was being led away, Leo was still having the time of his life with his explosive sniper rounds. The Warren Collective was nearly wiped out. The Vance Dominion still hadn't broken the BSO's defense. And Alex's special ops team was still watching the show. Place your bets. How much longer can the Warrens hold on? Hard to say. I think he's almost out of explosives. Forget the explosives. Those cats must be exhausted. How much are they being paid to work this hard? Does that mean it's our turn soon? Hey, good point. Everyone, get ready to push. Let's finish off what's left of the Warrens. The team was getting antsy, itching to get back into the fight. They were tired of sitting on the sidelines, especially after watching Leo have so much fun It was making them jealous. The Vance captain was sweating bullets. The BSO's defense was just too damn solid. Every time they were about to break through, they got pushed back. He was at his breaking point. And to make matters worse, the useless Warrens behind him were offering no support, just screaming and dying, adding to his stress. KSSHD. His radio crackled to life with Donovan Vance's voice. What's the situation? Have you taken them? And not yet, the captain stammered. What's taking so long? And what is that noise? It sounds like explosions, over and over. That's a little complicated to explain. How could he explain it? That a horde of stray cats was running a bombing campaign? Donovan wouldn't believe him even if he had the guts to say it. Never mind. Pull back. We have DR. Marks. Pull back? How? The entire area behind them was a goddamn minefield. Where are they supposed to go? Mr. Vance, we've run into some trouble. A retreat might not be possible. He then gave Donovan the most concise explanation of the situation he could manage. Donovan was silent for a long moment. All right, I'm sending Cole to help you. That's great. With Mr. Cole here, we'll definitely be able to pull back safely. Good. Hold on for a bit. He's on his way. Yes, thank you, Mr. Vance. Hanging up, the captain felt like he could cry with relief. They could finally get out of here. He brought a huge force to Westlake City, thinking he was just cleaning up some small-time syndicate trash. He hadn't taken it seriously at all. Now, not only had he failed to take them down, but he was barely hanging on himself. The BSO agents weren't the real problem. It was the cats behind them. No, it was the sniper. That one person was the true cause of all their problems. He was terrifyingly, unnaturally skilled. Meanwhile, at the Sia estate, compared to the battle at Westlake University, the fight here looked like a playground squabble. There were almost no casualties, and all the kills were being racked up by Cade. To say the Thorne family's men were providing support would be an overstatement. They were just a bunch of slackers. Damn it, Mason, what the hell are you doing? Cade finally snapped. All the casualties were his men, Vance Dominion soldiers. The Thorne family had suffered almost no losses. A few scrapes and bruises at most. This was a joke. 2 Apex families declare war, and all they get are scrape knees. Are you betraying Mr. Vance? At that, Mason Thorne's eyes widened. Mr. Cade, I have absolutely no such intention. You can't slander me like that. If Mr. Vance were to hear this, I'd be finished. Then what do you call this? Cade roared, pointing at the battlefield. Is this how your men fight? Mr. Cade, perhaps it's been too long since you've seen a war between syndicates, Mason said with a weak smile. This is how we've always done it. If you don't believe me, look at the CF family. They're doing the same thing, aren't they? Cade gritted his teeth, glaring at Mason. He couldn't believe the man was still making excuses. Inside the Sia Manor, Julian Reed and Kane were observing the situation. Julian, that guy Cade, I think he's onto us, Kane said, frowning as he stood by the floor-to-ceiling window. It'd be weird if he wasn't. Anyone with a brain could see what's going on, Julian replied with a shake of his head. He had to admit the way the Sia and Thorne families were fighting was pathetic. They were 2 Apex families, for crying out loud. Even if it was an act, they could have at least made it look convincing. A war with barely any deaths? The battle for the Crucible against the Foam Alliance was 10 times more intense than this. Damn you! Cade clenched his fists, his eyes burning with rage as he stared at Mason. The Vance Dominion soldiers he'd brought were almost all dead. If Mason really had to deal with the Sias, he was in serious danger. He couldn't wait any longer. Release it! Cade yelled back at the men standing around a large crate. He hadn't wanted to resort to this. It was too dangerous. But now, he had no other choice. Yes, sir. His men immediately got to work, pulling out tools to open the crate. Cade, meanwhile, was already backing away, putting as much distance as possible between himself and the crate. From his vantage point, Julian saw this and frowned. That feeling of dread was growing stronger. Mr. Sia, attack that crate. Now, he shouted without hesitation. Mr. Sia didn't hesitate either, immediately ordering all his men to open fire on the crate. Rat-tat-hat-tat. A hail of bullets flew, and the men working on the crate were riddled with holes, collapsing to the ground. But it was too late. The crate was open. Thud! A large wooden panel from the side of the crate fell to the ground with a heavy sound. It wasn't so much a crate as it was a coffin, because inside was a person, or more accurately, a monster that looked like a person. Ruhar! Thump! Thump! A deafening roar echoed as the monster stepped out of the crate, each footstep a soft, heavy thud on the ground. Long, black hair covered its face, but through the strands, they could see a gaping mouth, drool dripping from its lips. It was incredibly tall, its mere presence exuding an immense pressure, accompanied by a foul stench. What? What the hell is that thing? I'm positive that's not human. Damn it. That thing was in the crate this whole time? Fire. Fire at it now. The men snapped out of their shock and opened fire on the monster. But the bullets seemed to have no effect, as if it couldn't feel pain at all. Ruhar. The monster threw its head back and roared, then began walking toward them. Don't come any closer. It's a monster. A monster. Bullets don't work on it. Fall back. Everyone fall back. This sudden turn of events caught both Mr. Sia and Mason Thorne completely off guard. They never imagined the Vance Dominion had something like this hidden up their sleeve. What was this thing? Far away, Julian and Kane stare at the monster's face, frozen in place. After a long moment, Kane finally managed to speak, his voice strained. Julian, unless my eyes are deceiving me, doesn't that monster's face look a little like Spencer Foam? Roar. The monster that looked like Spencer Foam bellowed, moving like a walking corpse. No matter what kind of attack was thrown at it, its wounds healed almost instantly. Even grenades could only slow it down for a moment, not kill it. Spencer Foam. Julian repeated the name, his voice a low murmur. He frowned, studying the monster intently. It really does look like him. But why? How did he turn into a monster? Julian rubbed his chin, tried to piece it together. After the Foam Alliance was destroyed, Spencer Foam had been broken out of BSO custody by the Warren Collective and then disappeared. The BSO hadn't bothered to track him down. He was just a minor player, and with the Foam Alliance gone, there was no need for overkill. To think he would reappear like this, a grotesque, horrifying creature. Spencer was broken out by the Warrens, and the Warrens are connected to the Vance Dominion. So, it's highly likely the Vances are responsible for what happened to him. Julian's eyes darkened. Whatever the Vance Dominion was up to, it was far more terrifying than he had imagined. Outside, the moment Mr. Sia saw the monster, his eyes filled with rage. He clearly knew something. Damn the Vance Dominion. How those old bastards completely lost their minds. Mr. Sia gritted his teeth, his fists clenched so tight his knuckles were white. He never thought the Vances would be so bold that they would actually dare to conduct human experiments with an incomplete gene serum. The original serum, too. Zero was no longer enough to satisfy their ambition. While it could enhance a person's physical abilities, the drastically shortened lifespan was an unacceptable side effect for the Vance Dominion's leadership. They wanted more than just enhanced strength. They wanted longevity. The side effects of Serum 2.0 were a deal-breaker, but with their limited scientific resources, developing a more perfect serum required human trials. No one could predict what would happen to the test subjects. Mr. Sia had heard rumors about the Vance Dominion's plans for human experimentation, but he hadn't believed they would have the audacity. If they went through with it, they would face pressure not just from the BSO, but from every other syndicate. No one would allow them to succeed, because if they did, it would upset the balance of power for everyone. But now he knew. The rumors were true. This monster was likely a failed experiment. Mason, we need to work together. Attack this thing. Mr. Sia yelled, casting aside all other concerns. If this monster doesn't die, we're all in danger. Mason Thorne took a deep breath and nodded grimly. He understood the gravity of the situation. The monster was clearly mindless, attacking friend and foe alike. No wonder Cade and his men had backed off. They were afraid of it too. All Thorne family men on my command. Coordinate with the CF family and attack that monster. Yes, sir. The Thorne men roared in unison. From a distance, Cade watched, grinding his teeth. Mason Thorne, you really did betray me. He wasn't even pretending anymore. Oomph. You all can have fun with that, Cade muttered, a flicker of fear in his eyes as he looked at the monster. Even he would have no choice but to run from it. Luckily, it was still mindless and irrational. If it had any intelligence, Cade couldn't imagine how anyone would deal with it. On a street somewhere in Westlake City, a black sedan sped along, flanked by several identical vehicles. In the back seat, Donovan Vance and Dr. Quentin Mark sat side by side. Professor, don't look so grim. You make it seem like we kidnapped you, Donovan said with a tilted head and a smile. Now, can I finally see the gene serum? His eyes were fixed on the briefcase in Dr. Mark's lap, gleaming with greed. Dr. Marks held the briefcase tightly, saying nothing, just staring at Donovan. After a long moment, he finally spoke. Donovan Vance, I never thought we'd meet again. I always assumed it would be your father, Leland Vance. But, you'll do. Donovan's smile vanished. What is that supposed to mean? A rare smile appeared on Dr. Marks's face. He gently patted the briefcase. You've been wanting to see the gene serum inside, haven't you? Fine. With that, Dr. Marks began to slowly turn the combination dials, the soft click-clack echoing in the car. Donovan's brow furrowed. A terrible sense of foreboding washed over him. Wait! Stop what you're doing, he yelled. Dr. Marks ignored him, continuing to work the lock. I said stop. Donovan pulled a pistol from his waistband and aimed at Dr. Marks's head. Still, Dr. Marks didn't stop. Donovan's hand trembled, the sense of dread growing stronger. Then he saw it, a faint smile on Dr. Marks's lips. It was a smile of release, of liberation. Damn it! Stop the car! Donovan roared, his mind at war with itself. He wanted to shoot. But if he did, Dr. Marks would be dead, and everything they had done so far would be for nothing. Only one number remained on the lock. A single turn would open the case. But Dr. Marks stopped. He slowly turned his head, facing the gun barrel without a trace of fear, and looked directly at Donovan. Donovan, you still lack your father's decisiveness. If it were him, he would have fired without hesitation. With that, a gentle smile spread across the old man's face. Looking directly at Donovan, he slowly turned the final dial on the lock. Donovan's eyes went wide. He made his decision. He would shoot, but it was too late. Before he could pull the trigger, the case was open. Donovan's eyes were instinctively drawn to its contents. Inside, there was no gene serum. There was a case full of explosives. Boom! In the instant Donovan saw the bomb, it detonated. The sound was deafening. The entire car was engulfed in a fireball, its occupants' fate sealed. Mr. Vance! Get him out! Damn it, what happened? The sudden explosion brought the other cars to a screeching halt. Vance Dominion soldiers poured out, desperately searching for Donovan. But all they found was the twisted, burning wreck of the car and 3 bodies. One was the driver. The other 2 were Donovan Vance and Dr. Quentin Marks. The blast had left the bodies mutilated beyond recognition, their torsos incomplete. The only certainty was that Donovan Vance was dead. Dr. Marks's final act had ensured it. No one had seen this coming. Panic erupted among the men. The most stunned of all was Zeke Foam. He stumbled out of his car, staring at the 3 bodies, his mind completely blank. How did this happen? Why did it suddenly explode? Zeke's eyes were wide with disbelief. After a long moment, realization dawned, and his expression shifted to one of horrified understanding. No wonder I was able to escape the BSO. No wonder they let me over here, where Dr. Marks was being taken. Zeke trembled, a chill colder than ice seizing him. He bit his lip so hard it bled. It was all a setup. They let him be captured. They let him learn Dr. Marks's location. They let him escape so he would report back to Donovan. All to ensure that Donovan would meet Dr. Marks and take him away. And in the end, Dr. Marks would use a briefcase bomb to take Donovan down with him. What a plan. What a perfect setup, Zeke whispered. By that logic, he was the one who killed Donovan Vance. He had been nothing but a puppet on a string, his every move choreographed by someone else. Who would have thought that Zeke's desperate escape was intentionally allowed by the BSO? And who would have thought that Dr. Marks would carry a bomb, ready to die with his enemy? The entire purpose was to kill Donovan Vance, even at the cost of more than a dozen BSO agents. There was only one person Zeke could think of capable of such ruthless, intricate scheming. Director Sham. For the first time in his life, he was truly afraid of someone. Zeke took a deep breath and addressed the remaining men. Secure the bodies. We're going back to New York. He couldn't stay in Westlake City any longer. It was too terrifying. If he stayed, he feared he'd end up dead without ever knowing how he was played. No one argued. Under Zeke's command, they collected the 3 bodies and fled the scene. On the hill behind Westlake University, Henry Yen ran until he reached a relatively safe area, panting, sweat dripping from his forehead. After confirming he was alone, he carefully reached into his pocket and pulled out the object Dr. Marks had given him. It was a letter. On the simple envelope, for words were written in stark ink. For Henry Yen. Henry frowned and tore it open without hesitation. Suddenly, his eyes went wide. The first 2 words that met his gaze were final will. The words that followed made his entire body tremble, and tears streamed from his eyes. To my student, Henry. Henry, by the time you read this, I am likely no longer in this world. I am sorry that I deceived you. If the plan went smoothly, I was taken by Donovan Vance, and we died together. As for the 3 vials of gene serum, I gave them to the BSO long ago. It was a debt I owed them, and I trust they will put the serum to good use. This was my choice, an agreement I made with the BSO. So I hope you will not hold anyone responsible. This last letter is just an old man's final chance to talk to you. You often ask me why I chose you as my student when there were so many others who were smarter and more talented. I can answer that question for you now. It is because you are so much like I once was. The others have talent, achievements, and experience, but you possess something they do not, a heart that treats this world with gentleness. You always asked me what was most important in scientific research. I always just smiled, because the most important thing is something you already have. This letter is my final lesson for you. Henry, you must always remember that the purpose of our research is to make the world a better place, to help people live in greater harmony with it. To achieve that purpose, we must hold fast to a gentle and kind heart. Perhaps in the future, you will face ridicule. People will not understand your actions. But that's okay. I believe you will persevere because you are my student. We are the same kind of people. And this era needs people like us. In an age filled with dust, isn't there a certain romance in building a vacuum cleaner to sweep it all clean? Perhaps no one will remember us. No one will know of our contributions. But what does that matter? We never needed their gratitude. We were simply doing what we felt we had to do. Well, that's all this old man has to say. From now on, you'll have to walk this path alone. When you don't know what to do, remember to follow your heart. Do not grieve for me. Death is not the end of life. Forgetting is. You know I always loved rainy days. If one night a great storm comes with wind and rain, that will be me coming to see you. Remember, Henry, you will always be Quentin Marks's proudest student. Goodbye, Henry. Goodbye, world. Quentin Marks. Henry's hands trembled, tears soaking the letter. Suddenly, he spun around and, clutching the paper, began running frantically back the way he came. Professor, he screamed, his voice raw with anguish. But his body was already spent. After only a short distance, he stumbled and fell to the ground. His glasses flew from his face and landed in the dirt a few feet away. His vision blurred. He struggled to push himself up. His head bowed as tears dripped onto the earth. He knew that even if he ran back now, it would be too late. Professor, what? I still had so much to ask you. Our new lab. You never even got to see it. Henry whispered, lost and broken, unable to accept that Dr. Marks was gone. A short distance away, his shattered glasses were picked up. Director Shang wiped the lenses with his sleeve, walked over, and held them out to Henry. Henry looked up, stunned, at the man before him. After a long moment, he reached out and took them. Your teacher was a great man, Shang said. I know, Henry nodded softly, biting his lip. If there really was a world after this one, it must be celebrating right now. Because it was about to welcome a great scientist. His name was Quentin Marks. Ping. Congratulations, host, for completing the mission. Survive for 24 hours. Calculating system reward. Please wait. Reward calculation complete. Congratulations, host, for acquiring the advanced skill, doppelganger. Doppelganger this, you useless piece of code. Leo was in the middle of a glorious bombing run when the system's notification popped into his head. As expected, the new skill was another massive disappointment. It wasn't a world-cleaving sword technique. Was it really so hard to let him cultivate immortality? The host in the system next door was probably already conquering the universe. And here he was, getting a party trick. No wonder this garbage system had no presence. The readers were right to complain. You take that back. Or what? You gonna bite me? Leo shot back, unafraid. We're in the middle of a firefight, a war, and instead of a combat skill, you give me doppelganger. Of course you're gonna get flamed. So what does it do? Explain it to me, Leo asked in his mind while continuing to fire his rifle. The system remained silent, clearly sulking. Hurry up, or I'll go to your little system forum and cyberbully you for being such an embarrassment. Leo was getting bold now, talking back to the system. In the early days, he'd been meek and subservient. Now, he was the boss. He was going to make sure the system knew who was really in charge of this body. Sure enough, faced with the threat of online harassment, the system finally responded. Doppelganger. You can transform into the appearance of anyone from your memory. Usable once per day, for a maximum of 30 minutes. Holy shit, Leo exclaimed. This was actually amazing. If he turned into Anthony Reed, would Ava have to call him Dad? And Julian would have to. No, better not. Julian would probably kill him. Still, with a skill like this, things just got a whole lot easier. A wicked grin spread across Leo's face. He stood up and, without hesitation, activated the skill. He transformed into Donovan Vance. Leo Donovan Vance. Now online. Leo tossed the sniper rifle aside, smoothed his hair, and pulled out his phone, opening the camera app. Whoa, it's a perfect match. System, you're the best. Leo admired his new face. It was identical to Donovan's, just with a slightly more punchable quality. This is a great skill. The Vance Dominion won't know what hit them. With that, Leo headed downstairs and ran toward the battlefield, dialing Alex Young as he went. Yo, Alex, I'm going over there disguised as Donovan Vance. Make sure you guys don't shoot me, okay? Just follow my lead. On the other end of the line, Alex didn't know what expression to make. He was numb. What the hell was even happening anymore? His brain couldn't keep up. After hanging up, Alex stared blankly at the ground. After a long moment, he made a momentous decision. He was going to turn off his brain and just blindly follow Leo's lead. You guys get over here. Listen up. Alex waved his team over and relayed the contents of Leo's call, word for word. Their faces twisted into the same expression of bewildered confusion that Alex had worn just moments before. This is insane, one of them said, voicing the thoughts of the entire group. Don't think about it. Just turn off your brains and follow Leo, Alex ordered. In the distance, the explosions had finally stopped. The surviving Warren Collective soldiers were shaken, their faces bruised and bloody, but also filled with relief. It's finally over. The cats aren't coming back. They must have run out of explosives. God damn it, that was messed up. Getting our asses kicked by a bunch of cats. Commander, what now? Do we fight or fall back? I don't want to fight anymore, one soldier whimpered. They're too brutal. They have no humanity. The Warren commander was in bad shape himself. Before he could say anything, the Vance captain's voice came from behind him. Warren Collective, prepare to withdraw. Mr. Vance has succeeded. We can pull back. Move together. We'll break through their lines as one. A collective sigh of relief went through the Warren ranks. They were done fighting. A retreat was the best possible outcome. All right, then we pull back, the Warren commander roared. He rallied his remaining men into a retreat formation and began to fall back. The Vance Dominion soldiers also switched from offense to defense, using the BSO's moment of respite to withdraw as fast as they could. With their combined strength, breaking out should be easy, especially with Cole coming to reinforce them. In the distance, a black sedan approached. The driver was Cole, arriving to provide extraction. Everything was going perfectly. If they could just get away, the mission would be a resounding success. Inspector Shang, do we pursue? One of her agents asked. Lucia bit her lip, wondering why they were suddenly retreating. Had Dr. Mark's already been captured? The plan between Dr. Marks and her father was top secret. Not even Lucia knew about it. So, the BSO agents were still genuinely worried for the professor's safety. We can't let them just leave. Pin them down. Yes, ma'am. At her command, the BSO agents switched from defense to offense, pursuing the retreating Vance forces. Cole frowned, getting out of his car to provide cover fire. Shink! A flash of steel flickered in front of his face. Cole recoiled in shock. A black throwing knife zipped past his forehead, slicing off a few strands of his hair. The black knife. It's you again. Cole glared in the direction the knife had come from, but Ethan Xie was already gone. He had moved the instant he threw the blade. Ethan didn't attack again. He knew he was no match for Cole. If he revealed his position, Cole would kill him in an instant. In a fight between masters, life and death were decided in a split second. All Ethan could do now was wait for another opening. You'd better stay hidden forever. Cole sneered, having figured out Ethan's plan, but he didn't have time to hunt him down. He just had to be extra vigilant. Ahead, the Vance and Warren forces had regrouped with the BSO in hot pursuit. Suddenly, another group burst out of the alley, Alex's special ops team. They had no sense of honor, no warning, just guns blazing. Cole's brow furrowed. He placed his hands on his hips, drawing 2 pistols. With his dual pistols, he was at his strongest. Bang, bang, bang. With Cole providing cover, the pressure on the retreating Vance and Warren forces eased considerably. At this rate, they would be out of danger soon. But just then, a figure sprinted onto the battlefield. Help! Cole, help me. Don't retreat. You have to get me out of here first. The shouts drew everyone's attention. All eyes turned to the man, and when they saw his face, they froze. And Mr. Vance? Cole's eyes went wide. Why was Donovan Vance here? Wasn't he supposed to be on his way back to New York with Dr. Marks? Though his mind was reeling with questions, Cole never doubted the man's identity for a second. The face was too perfect. It was an exact match. There was no way it could be an imposter. Damn it. Open fire. Cover me. I'm going to get Mr. Vance. Cole roared, ordering his men to lay down suppressing fire. Donovan's position was incredibly dangerous. A stray bullet could hit him at any moment. In that instant, Cole went all out. He was a storm of bullets, an unstoppable force. Quick, get Donovan Vance. Lucia yelled urgently. This was an opportunity. She didn't know why he was here, but it was a chance they couldn't miss. Leo, disguised as Donovan, heard Lucia's order and cursed her internally. Damn it, Lucia. Now is not the time to be a hero. I'm on your side. Luckily, Alex and his team weren't firing at him. Otherwise, he'd be in real trouble. Cole, help me. Leo screamed in mock panic, sprinting desperately toward him. The BSO agents tried to stop him, but Cole's firepower was too intense, and with the Vance and Warren men covering him, they just couldn't spare the manpower. As for Alex's team, the moment Leo appeared, they went into slacker mode, habitually falling back to watch the show. And so, Leo quickly reached Cole. But in that split second, everything changed. A black throwing knife sliced through the air, heading straight for them. Its target was Leo, still disguised as Donovan Vance. Ethan's, yeah, you son of a bitch. Leo cursed in his head. You weren't this good when you were fighting the actual enemy. Now you decide to go full carry mode. Sweat beaded on Leo's forehead. Now he knew what it felt like to be on the receiving end of Ethan's knives. The guy played dirty. In his gun-fu state, Leo could have dodged the knife easily, but that would have blown his cover. Donovan Vance didn't have those kinds of moves. While Leo hesitated, Cole solved the problem for him. Mr. Vance, look out, he shouted, unhesitatingly throwing himself in front of Leo, taking the knife square in the chest. The blade sank deep, embedding itself to the hilt. Cole, you... Leo started, unsure of what to say. You magnificent bastard, I'm actually tearing up. After this, how can I possibly bring myself to kill you? I'm fine, Mr. Vance. Get back, I'll cover you. Cole ignored the searing pain in his chest and began laying down fire to cover Leo's retreat. Alex's team breathed a quiet sigh of relief. Leo had successfully infiltrated the enemy. The Vance and Warren soldiers also relaxed. They had their boss back. The only people unhappy with the situation were the BSO agents. Under Cole's protection, Leo finally made it to the rear, safely surrounded by his allies. Mr. Vance, take this. The Vance captain grabbed a rifle and handed it to Leo. Protect yourself. Don't worry, we'll get you out of here safely. With that, he turned and rejoined the firefight. Leo was left standing there, staring dumbly at the rifle in his hands. He looked up at the unguarded backs of the Vance and Warren soldiers. He almost felt bad about what he was about to do. No, wait. Donovan Vance is the one doing this. What does it have to do with Leo Evans? Having rationalized it, Leo's face twisted into a villainous smirk. He racked the slide, moved to a good position, raised the rifle, and took aim at their backs. Then he slowly squeezed the trigger. Rat-tat-tat-tat. Act. What? Mr. Vance? Why? Leo's face was a blank mask as he raked the lines of Vance and Warren soldiers with gunfire. Even Cole took several more bullets. Right now, he was Donovan Vance, and he had no mercy. The sudden betrayal left the BSO agents frozen in shock. Alex's team, however, seemed to have been expecting it. They unleashed their full firepower, coordinating with Leo to catch the enemy in a pincer attack, wiping them out completely. What was going on? Lucia stood stunned, her brain struggling to process the scene. Why would Donovan Vance suddenly attack his own men? Why did the special ops team seem completely unfazed, as if they knew this would happen? What was the situation? Cough, cough. Mr. Vance. Why? The only person left alive on the battlefield was Cole. He was on his knees, blood pouring from multiple wounds, his face a mask of disbelief. He didn't understand why Donovan would do this. Why? Leo tilted his head, a small smile on his lips as he slowly walked toward him. Take a good look. Who am I? He wiped a hand across his face, and his features melted back to their original form. Cole's eyes widened, staring at Leo's face, trying to process it, or perhaps refusing to accept the truth. Leo Evans. Cole gritted out, forcing the two words from his throat. But Leo didn't give him another chance to speak. He pressed the barrel of the rifle against Cole's head and gently squeezed the trigger. Bang! He gave him a quick end. Cole was dead. Leo. Lucia gasped. The man she thought was Donovan Vance was actually Leo in disguise? How was that possible? Ethan emerged from the shadows, running over to Leo's side, his face a mixture of shock and confusion. What the hell was that? You got a lot of nerve asking me that. You almost got me killed. Leo snapped. How the hell was I supposed to know it was you? Hey, how did you do that with your face? Disguise technique. Learn it online. Whoa, send me the link. I want to learn. You can't. The site got taken down. Taken down? What kind of site were you on? You had to hand it to these two, surrounded by dead bodies, and they were arguing about the legitimacy of a website. A short while later, the BSO and the Special Ops team were working together to clear the battlefield. Leo, you owe me an explanation, Lucia said, her expression serious as she stared him down. What was all that about? It's kind of a long story, Leo mumbled. Ethan chimed in to support him. Yeah, Lucia. We should probably contact your father first. What if something happened to Dr. Marks? Lucia shot him a death glare, and Ethan immediately shut up. Oomph. She snorted, pulling out her phone to call Director Shang. No need to call. I'm here. A voice cut through the air. They all turned to see a man walking out from the university campus. It was Director Shang. Henry Yin followed behind him, his head bowed, his clothes covered in mud. Dad, Lucia called out, running over to him. What are you doing here? Where's Professor Marks? At the question, Henry's body flinched, but he said nothing. Director Shang glanced at Henry, sighed, and said flatly, You don't need to worry about Quentin Marks. Right now, you all need to get to the Xia estate. They're in trouble. My family. Ethan ran forward. Director Shang, what do you mean my family's in trouble? What happened? Shang looked at him and explained the situation, the monster that had appeared, and how the Xia and Thorn families were now fighting it together. A monster? The word felt foreign and strange. The group exchanged uneasy glances. What's the situation over there now? Ethan asked, worried. Is my dad okay? He's fine for now, but I can't say for how long. Then what are we waiting for? We have to go help. Shang surveyed the group. Moving all of you will be too slow. You might not make it in time. In that case, Ethan and I will go ahead, Leo said, stepping forward to face Director Shang. That's what you were getting at, right, Director? Director Shang gave Leo a long, deep look. What good can the two of you do? You never know. Maybe we're exactly what they need, Leo said with a grin. Every little bit helps, right? Without waiting for a response, he grabbed Ethan and pulled him toward the car Cole had driven. We'll check out the situation. You guys follow as fast as you can. Leo waved, then shoved Ethan into the driver's seat. You're driving. Before anyone could react, the two were in the car. Consumed with worry for his family, Ethan slammed his foot on the gas, and the car shot off toward the Xia estate. Leo Evans, Director Shang murmured, watching the car disappear. Dad, we should hurry too. I'll leave some people here to clean up. Lucia said anxiously. Now, what's the rush? That old fox Xia can hold out for a while longer. Dad, if you keep this up, I'm going to get angry. Shang sighed softly. Fine. We'll go right now, all right. A daughter's heart will go where it wants. He didn't see her this anxious when they were fighting the Vance Dominion. In the car, Ethan had the pedal to the floor. Leo reached into his coat and pulled out a delicate lantern flower, holding it out to Ethan. Ethan glanced over, and the hairs on his arm stood up. Whoa, what are you doing? My sexual orientation is perfectly normal. Don't try anything funny. Who the hell cares about your sexual orientation? Leo shot back. Is your brain made of tofu? Your little Melina asked me to give this to you. Melina Thorn? Ethan paused, reaching out to take the flower. It was beautifully crafted. He could tell a lot of effort had gone into it. But why does it smell like an Inferno burrito? How should I know? Your girl likes Inferno burritos, too. You just ate one, didn't you? Ethan saw right through him. Leo had definitely gone for a burrito run, and the smell had gotten on the flower. No wonder you were in such a rush to drag me away. It was just to give me this. Duh. You think I was going to give it to you in front of Lucia? Would you have taken it? Of course I would. Lucia is a great person. She wouldn't get mad at me over something like this. Got that on tape. I'll play it for her later. Leo, you bastard. Delete it. Kidding. Didn't record anything. Look at you getting all worked up. Ethan gritted his teeth. If he weren't in such a hurry to get back to his family, he would be throwing down with Leo right now. He was starting to regret not finishing Leo off when he was disguised as Donovan. He could have just blamed it on Leo for not telling him about the disguise. A perfect, guilt-free opportunity to bury a few knives in him missed. So, the monster. What's the plan? Ethan asked. Relax. You just focus on driving. I'll handle the monster, Leo said, leaning back in his seat, completely unfazed. A little monster wasn't going to cause any problems. Seeing Leo's confidence, Ethan felt a little more at ease. Soon, thanks to Ethan's reckless driving, they arrived at the Sierra estate. He was probably going to lose his license after this. Whoa, that's a big monster, Leo said as they got out of the car and saw the ugly, grotesque creature. The Thorn and CF forces were struggling to hold it back. They had already taken heavy casualties and were clearly on their last legs. Seeing this, Ethan immediately threw a volley of knives at it. They bounced off harmlessly. The monster didn't even glance in his direction. Damn it, how do we fight this thing? Ethan frowned. I told you relax. I've got this, Leo said, cracking his neck. He patted Ethan on the shoulder. Watch and learn. This next move is something you could practice for a lifetime. He swaggered over to the side of the road, picked up a sturdy-looking stick, activated gun fu, and sprinted toward the monster. He zipped behind it in a blur, leaped into the air, raised the stick, and aimed for the back of its neck. Here comes the cheap shot. Thwack! With a dull thud, the stick connected hard. The next second, the monster's world went black, and it slowly pitched forward, collapsing to the ground. Leo landed lightly, wiped his nose, and gave a cool whistle. You're the one they call monster? Cheap shot. One hit, problem solved. The entire battlefield fell silent. Thud! The monster collapsed, its massive body hitting the ground and kicking up a cloud of dust. At that moment, everyone from the Sia and Thorn families froze in place. From his hiding spot, Cade's jaw dropped so low you could have fit a light bulb in it. Is it over? I think so. We've been fighting our asses off this whole time. And he just walks up and ends it with one hit. This is insane. I bet the monster was at its limit, and that one stick was all it took. Yeah, that has to be it. We wore it down to the point where a stick could finish it. From a distance, Julian watched, the corner of his mouth twitching. He had been trying to come up with a plan, and then the monster was just dealt with. But he glanced over at Leo and sighed. With Leo here, nothing was surprising anymore. And if Leo was here, it meant the situation at the university was probably resolved. Holy crap, Leo, you're incredible, Ethan said, walking over with wide eyes. He glanced at the stick in Leo's hand. It wasn't even broken. What was that move? Did you learn that online too? You need the internet to learn how to do this? You've never landed a cheap shot before? Leo asked, genuinely confused. Of course I have, but you just. Ethan pointed at Leo, then at the unconscious monster, at a complete loss for words. Who knocks out a monster that big with a cheap shot? What was that stick, the Monkey King's staff? Ethan looked closely, confirming it was just a regular, ordinary stick Leo had picked up off the ground. How is this possible? Cade muttered, his face a mask of disbelief. That monster, that failed experiment, a creature that even he would have run from, was knocked out cold with a single stick. Damn it. Cade's expression shifted rapidly. The tables had turned. His only trump card, the monster, was down. There was no reason for him to stay. As strong as he was, he couldn't take on two apex families by himself. I have to retreat. Cade made his decision instantly. Time to get the hell out of there. But before I go... Hiding in a corner, Cade raised his sniper rifle, his eyes filled with venom. He centered his scope on Mason Thorn. If you dare to betray us, you must be prepared to pay the price. There's only one fate for traitors, death. He gently squeezed the trigger. Crack! The bullet flew from the barrel, tore through the air, and hit its target. Blood sprayed everywhere. But Cade's eyes went wide with shock, because the person he had hit was not Mason Thorn. A small figure in a baseball cap had appeared in front of Mason, taking the bullet for him. Mason froze, watching the small figure collapse. The cap fell off, revealing the face beneath. It was Melina Thorn. Melina had arrived on the scene long ago, but seeing that the Sia and Thorn families weren't really fighting, she had stayed hidden. When the monster appeared, she had kept a close eye on the Vance Dominion soldiers, especially Cade. Seeing the murderous intent in his eyes as he looked at her father, a terrible premonition had seized her. Just before Cade fired, Melina had rushed out, placing herself between the bullet and her father. Melina! Mason's eyes instantly turned blood red, and he let out a heart-wrenching scream. He dropped to his knees, gathering her into his arms, his hands trembling as he held her. Silly girl, why? Why did you come back? Don't talk. It's okay. Dad'll save you. You're gonna be okay. Medic! Get a medic over here. Medical personnel rushed over to check on Melina. The Thorn family men, snapping out of their shock, unleashed a furious volley of fire at Cade's position. But Cade, seeing that his plan had gone wrong, had already bolted. Shink! In his haste, a silent black knife flew through the air and embedded itself deep in Cade's shoulder. Ack! Cade grunted in pain, clutching his shoulder, but he didn't slow down. His specialty was long-range combat. His close-quarter skills were far inferior to Cole's. He couldn't dodge Ethan's knives. He jumped onto a motorcycle he had stashed nearby, gunned the engine, and sped away. Ethan started to give chase, but Leo grabbed his arm. Ethan, don't. Go see Melina. Ethan froze, the forward momentum dying in his step. He stared hatefully in the direction Cade had fled, his fists clenched, then turned and ran toward Melina. Doctor, how is she? How's my daughter? Mason's face was a wreck of anxiety. The calm, collected head of the Thorn family was gone, replaced by a father terrified of losing his child. The doctor didn't answer, focusing entirely on stabilizing Melina. Dad! Melina's eyes fluttered open. She looked at Mason and whispered his name. Yes, I'm here. Melina, how do you feel? Mason squeezed her hand. It hurts. Am I going to die? Don't say that. You're not going to die. Dad's right here. How could I let you die? Mason's eyes were red as he spoke, his voice gentle. Don't talk anymore. The doctor's here. You're going to be okay. Just then, Ethan ran up, his face etched with worry as he looked down at Melina. Ethan, seeing his face, a light flickered in Melina's eyes. Yeah, I'm here. Ethan nodded heavily. To see you. One more time. That's great. Mason was about to speak, but Melina silenced him with a look. Then, she struggled to say, your family and my dad? They won't fight anymore, right? Yeah, we won't. That's good. The lantern flower. Did Leo give it to you? Yeah, I got it. Ethan pulled the delicate flower from his pocket. Seeing it, a faint smile touched Melina's pale lips. He got it. That's good. Melina closed her eyes, a chorus of voices echoing in the depths of her mind. If only I didn't have to die, then I could see your face again. If I could live, I would work hard to help my dad run the family, so we would never fight with the CF family again. If I could live, I would say so many things, yell at so many people. And I would want to meet Ethan's girlfriend to see what kind of person she is. If I could live, Ethan, I wouldn't love you anymore. Ethan, I really don't want to die. Melina, Thorne lost consciousness completely. Melina? Melina. Mason Thorne's voice broke as he cried out his daughter's name. But there was no response. Doctor, how is she? How's my daughter? Mason looked up, his eyes bloodshot as he pleaded with the doctor. The doctor slowly stood up, his voice low. Mr. Thorne, we did everything we could. The bullet damaged Miss Thorne's heart. In her current condition, there's nothing more to be done. Mason and Ethan Sia both flinched as if struck. Is there no other way? Ethan asked, the words catching in his throat. The doctor's silence was his only answer. From a distance, Leo Evans watched the scene unfold. He was perhaps the only one present who knew exactly how Melina's life was slipping away. Ping. Detected critical decline in mission target Melina Thorne's vital signs. Warning. Mission Save Melina Thorne is nearing failure. Warning. Mission Save Melina Thorne is nearing failure. Warning. The system alerts have been blaring in Leo's mind for the last few minutes, a constant, siren-like reminder that his mission was about to fail. Save Melina Thorne. So this is what it meant? Leo frowned, a wave of helplessness washing over him. He had already asked the system if there was anything he could do to save her. The system's response had been simple. No. Suddenly, he felt a hand grip his. He looked down and saw it was Ava. Leo, she said, her grip tight as she stared at the scene before them. What if that were me lying there? What would you do? Melina's fate had clearly struck a nerve. What if, one day, she died in Leo's arms? Would her brother, Julian, hold her and weep uncontrollably, just like Mason Thorne? And Leo, he would be heartbroken, wouldn't he? Suddenly, Ava felt a gentle pat on her head. What are you thinking about? Leo said with a faint, fond smile. That's never going to happen. He pulled her into a light embrace and whispered, from now on, I'm tying you to my side. We're never going to be apart. Okay, Ava nodded softly. Just then, Mr. Sia stepped forward and spoke to Mason Thorne. Actually, Melina can still be saved. His words stunned everyone. What? What did you say? Mason looked up, his gaze fixed on Mr. Sia. I said, your daughter can still be saved. Mr. Sia repeated. How? Tell me quickly. Mason scrambled to his feet, grabbing Mr. Sia by the shoulders. You can have my life if you want it. Just take it. As long as you can save my daughter. The doctor couldn't help but interject. Mr. Sia, with all due respect, Miss Thorne's condition. Shut up. Mason roared. A sliver of hope had just been handed to him, and he wouldn't listen to another word from this doctor. Mr. Sia looked deeply at Mason, sighed, and slowly uttered two words. Gene serum. What? The latest gene serum developed by Dr. Quentin Marks might be able to save Melina, Mr. Sia said calmly. He knew some of the specifics, which was why he dared to make such a claim. Gene serum. Mason repeated the words, then turned to Mr. Sia. Where is it? Where is this serum now? It's with Director Shaw. I'll go beg him for it right now. No need, Mr. Sia said, glancing toward the entrance. He's already here. Outside the Sierra State, Lucia Shang arrived with a team of BSO agents. Director Shang and Henry Yin walked in side by side. Director Shang. Before Mason could speak, Ethan Sia rushed over to him. Sir, I'm begging you. Please lend me a dose of Dr. Marx's gene serum. I need to save someone. Lend. Director Shang frowned. Do you have any idea what that thing is worth? Forget you. Not even your entire CF family could afford to pay it back. Ethan froze, about to argue, when Mason's voice came from behind him. Director Shang. Mason walked forward and, to everyone's shock, dropped to his knees before the director. I'm begging you. Save my daughter. Lucia quickly asked someone what was happening. When she heard that Melina was on the verge of death, she turned to her father. Dad, she pleaded. But Director Shang remained unmoved. Mason clenched his fists, his head snapping up. If he couldn't get it, he would take it by force. Just then, a voice unfamiliar to most of the crowd cut through the tension. Give it to him. Everyone paused. Mason followed the sound of the voice and saw it was a young man standing behind Director Shang, wearing glasses and covered in grime. Director Shang turned, frowning at Henry Yen. Why? I said give it to him. Henry met the director's gaze without flinching. The professor always said that the original purpose of a gene serum was to save people. Right now, there's someone in front of you whose life can only be saved by the serum. Why won't you save her? This goes completely against the professor's original intent. Henry's voice was firm and resonant. His words made many in the crowd look at the unremarkable young man in a new light. Director Shang, however, was resolute. But you should know the value of the serum. The value of the serum is saving lives. Henry interrupted. If you refuse to save this person today, then please return the serum. The BSO has no right to safeguard it on the professor's behalf. The young man's eyes held a stubborn fire, his tone leaving no room for argument. Director Shang stared at Henry for a long moment, then turned to one of his men. Get them a dose of the gene serum. Yes, sir. The agent hurried to a vehicle and returned with a vial of white liquid, which he handed to Ethan. Ethan took the serum and rushed back to Melina, carefully administering it to her. Mason followed, breathless, watching with excruciating tension. Leo, do you think that serum will work? Ava asked. Don't worry. Melina's fine now, Leo said with confidence. Because in his mind, the system's voice was already chiming. Ping. Detected improvement in mission target Melina Thorne's physical condition. Congratulations, host, for completing the mission. Save Melina Thorne. Due to the host's lack of significant contribution to the rescue of Melina Thorne, the mission reward will be reduced. Calculating mission reward. Reward calculation complete. Congratulations, host. You have acquired the low-tier skill. Music mastery. System. What the hell do you mean? No significant contribution. Do you have any idea how long I was silently praying over here? I was about to offer up 20 years of Julian's life for Melina's safety, and you're telling me I didn't make a significant contribution? Leo was not convinced. Not at all. And music mastery? What was that about? Why couldn't it be something cool, like Heaven Splitter? Or, if not that, Sunfire Annihilator? Or even the whole blue silvergrass thing? Actually, scratch that last one. But couldn't it at least be an attack skill? So far, the only decent offensive skill Leo had was Gun Kata. It was powerful, sure, but it was getting old. The Cheap Shot series had its uses, but he had no idea what to do with music mastery. Play a violin solo during a demolition job? Actually, that had a certain elegance to it. Wait a second. Leo blinked, an idea flashing in his mind. Did this mean he could pursue a career in the arts? No, he was done with college applications. What arts career was there to pursue? In the end, Leo had only one word for this skill. Useless. Even a dog wouldn't want it. In the distance, after consuming the gene serum, Melina's wounds began to heal at a visible rate. Color returned to her cheeks, and her breathing steadied. How is this possible? The doctor exclaimed. It was completely unheard of. Mason was so tense he barely dared to breathe. After a long moment, Melina's eyes slowly fluttered open. Am I alive? She whispered. You're alive. You're still alive. Mason bit his lip, pulling her into a fierce hug. It's okay now. Everything is okay. The Thorne family members erupted in cheers. Ethan stood up and stepped aside, letting out a quiet sigh of relief. Suddenly, he stopped. He had just noticed Lucia Shang standing beside him. You're not mad, are you? Ethan asked meekly. Lucia rolled her eyes. Did he really think she was that petty? If she had truly minded, she wouldn't have pleaded with her father just now. Oomph. Lucia snorted coldly and turned away, letting him guess. Sure enough, that cold snort sent a jolt of panic through Ethan. He knew he was in for another round of groveling. This gene serum. It won't shorten Melina's lifespan, will it? Mister, Sia asked, quietly approaching Henry Yen. Henry shook his head. Number 3 is the most complete version of the serum. It has no side effects. By the same token, it doesn't provide a significant physical enhancement. At most, it strengthens the body. The professor's original goal was to create a panacea, a cure for all illnesses. The gene serum was meant to be the foundation for that. The earlier versions were incomplete, which is why they were used as physical enhancers, but they came with the side effect of shortening one's life. The current number 3 is less a gene serum and more a life serum. It was the professor's final act of kindness to the world. Mr. Xian nodded, a sense of loss in his eyes. Dr. Quentin Marks, what a tragedy. If he were still alive, perhaps he truly could have created that panacea. Though the serum was a success, it couldn't be mass-produced, and the goal of a universal cure was still a long way off. Those 3 vials alone had cost an unimaginable amount of resources and capital. Well, no. Now, there were only 2 left. Meanwhile, Cade sped down the highway on his motorcycle. Ethan Sia's black throwing knife was still embedded in his shoulder, blood streaming down his arm. Damn it. Cole isn't answering his phone, and now Mr. Vance isn't picking up either. Cade frowned, glancing over his shoulder. Seeing no one was following, he finally slowed to a stop. With a grunt of pain, he yanked the knife out. His body had been modified by the gene serum. A wound like this didn't need stitches. It would heal on its own in time. After a long hesitation, Cade scrolled through his contacts, his eyes landing on a name. Leland Vance. The family head isn't in New York right now, but Cade gritted his teeth. He had no other choice. The situation was completely out of their control. He couldn't reach Donovan, either, and he suspected something had happened on that end. The only person he could contact now was Leland Vance. Just as he was about to dial, the hair on his body stood on end. His sixth sense screamed, "Danger!" Sure enough, the next second, a sharp was cut through the air. A bullet struck his phone, blowing it and his hand apart. "Arg!" Cade cried out in agony and whipped his head around. Who was it? A man in a baseball cap, a sniper rifle in his hands, and a cigarette dangling from his lips, was walking slowly toward him. The eyes under the brim were impossibly deep, as if they had witnessed ages of conflict and seen past life and death. If you'd made that call, things would have gotten a little tricky. Cade's eyes widened. That familiar feeling, the kind of psychological pressure he had only recently encountered from one other person. "You're the ghost." "Don't call me that. I haven't used that name in years." The man took a long drag from a cigarette, then flicked the butt to the ground and crushed it with his boot. He shoved one hand in his pocket, raised the sniper rifle with the other, and aimed it at Cade, saying flatly, "These days, I'm just an ordinary university professor." Bang! The rifle roared, and the bullet tore through the space between Cade's eyebrows. Blood sprayed, and Cade collapsed dead. Facing the number 1 assassin on the Harrow Index, he hadn't even had a chance to fight back. Ugh, what a pain. Professor Miller frowned at Cade's body, muttering to himself. I told them to just let the kid take his damn exams. But no, they had to go and make this huge mess. That's why everyone at the BSO is certifiably insane. And that Sterling fellow is the most insane of them all. The more Professor Miller spoke, the angrier he got, venting his frustrations at Cade's corpse. All I want is a quiet life, a promotion, maybe coast a little. Is that so much to ask? Damn it, if I didn't owe that chaos magnet couple a favor, would I be stuck cleaning up after Leo Evans all the time? When I first met the kid, I thought he was pretty harmless. I can't believe how blind I was. It's true what they say. Apples don't fall far from the tree. The son of 2 master shit-stirrers is just another damn shit-stir. What a mess. Professor Miller lit another cigarette and spat on Cade's body. And you Vance people are all the same. Not a single one of you is any good. Westlake City, on a quiet side street. Under the cloak of night, several figures in black hoods moved silently, preparing to leave the city. Bartholomew Warren, where do you think you're going? A voice rang out, and the lead figure froze. Swish, swish, swish. In an instant, a dozen BSO agents appeared surrounding them. Edwards, the lead figure spat out the director's name, then pulled back his hood, revealing his face. It was the head of the Warren Collective, Bartholomew Warren. Though he had brought his people to aid Donovan Vance, he himself had remained hidden, ready to flee the moment the tide turned against them. But how had Director Edwards found him? Edwards, do you have to be so ruthless? Warren roared. Yes, I do, Edwards replied calmly. I warned you back in Ethelberg. Keep your head down. Unfortunately, you didn't listen. I told you, if your people from the gray zone want a seat at the table, you'd better be prepared for the consequences. The next moment, Edwards waved his hand dismissively. Take them away. Yes, sir. The BSO agents moved in, cuffing the few remaining members of the Warren Collective, including Bartholomew Warren himself. Edwards, give me a break. I swear the Warren Collective will never help the Vance Dominion again. Warren's face was a mask of desperation. I was a fool to get involved with them. Edwards, for the sake of my family standing in the gray zone, give me a chance. Edwards just smoked his cigarette, unmoved. He didn't spare Warren another glance as he was led away. In this Westlake City clusterfuck, Bartholomew Warren and the entire Warren Collective were nothing more than pawns. The Thorns, the Siez, the Vances. Every faction had its own agenda, its own endgame. Only the Warrens were purely cannon fodder. It takes all kinds, I suppose, Edwards murmured. Back in his day, a man like Warren wouldn't have survived 3 days, even if you gave him the full might of the Vance Dominion. Watching Warren's retreating back, Edwards took a deep drag from his cigarette. Suddenly, his phone rang. He pulled it out. It was Anthony Reed. The moment he answered, Anthony's voice came through, tinged with exhaustion. Well, how are things on your end? Mostly resolved. We got the gene serum. It's with Shang, Edwards said. What about Donovan Vance? Is he dead too? Anthony asked. Yeah, he and Dr. Marks took each other out. Far away in New York City, Anthony Reed fell silent for a long moment. Whatever. It's better that he's dead. Living like that would have been its own hell. How are things on your end? Edwards asked. U.S. Anthony lit a cigarette and took a puff. He was in a dilapidated wooden cabin, surrounded by a few others, all of them bruised and weary. It was clear they had just survived a brutal fight. On a small bed nearby, a man lay motionless, as if dead. Don't even ask. We just escaped the Vance estate. We stirred up every family in New York trying to rescue Sterling. So, did you get him out? Of course we did. You think I'd be calling you if we failed? Anthony snapped. But are you sure that gene serum can really save him? Sterling's not in good shape. He's basically a vegetable. Edwards hesitated, suddenly less certain himself. He had no idea how effective the serum really was. Well, you got him out. That's a win in my book. A win, my ass, Edwards. Anthony exploded. I'm telling you, if you can't save Sterling, I'm going to kill you myself. Do you have any idea how much trouble I went through to save him? Do you know how dangerous the Vance estate is? Leland Vance wasn't even there. If he had been, I wouldn't have dared set foot on the property. You don't know anything. All you care about is your little skirmish in Westlake City. Have you got no conscience, Reed? Edwards, having been chewed out, finally lost his temper. If we hadn't used Dr. Marks as bait to draw most of the Vance forces out here, you think you could have just waltzed into their estate? You have a nerve to bring that up? Most of the forces? You guys have some real gall. Anthony shot back. The Vance contingent that went to Westlake City wasn't even a third of their strength in New York. You call that most? I almost fell for your crap and walked straight into their headquarters to get myself killed. You just wait, Edwards. I'm putting this in my little black book. We are not done. Edwards was stunned. They'd drawn out that few people. He had estimated Donovan Vance had brought more than enough of his family's strength, but it wasn't even a third. It seemed the Vance Dominion had grown far stronger and deeper than anyone had realized over the past few years. And most of the people on the list were still at the estate, left behind by Leland. Do you have any idea how hard that fight was? I nearly died in there, and you have the nerve to whine at me from the sidelines. This time, Edwards didn't argue back. If what Anthony said was true, his battle in New York had been incredibly perilous. They had truly underestimated the Vances power base in the city. Wait, if their remaining forces were that strong, how did you manage to get Sterling out? Edwards couldn't help but ask. When had Anthony Reed gotten that powerful? I guess I just got lucky, Anthony said, taking a drag from his cigarette. The guy in charge of the estate's defense was that old dog, Silas Lynn. I had his son, Marcus, in my pocket for a while, and he owed me a favor. He decided to cash it in tonight. And just to be safe, I called in a little backup from that couple. The Evanses. The Evanses. Edwards frowned. They actually helped you? Of course they did. Their son is my future son-in-law. You think they'd dare refuse me? The statement hung in the air. Edwards froze for a second. Then the pieces clicked into place. You're telling me Leo is their son? Duh. You think I'd let just any stray mutt date my daughter? No wonder Leo has that same shit-stirring style. It turns out it's genetic. Tell me about it. That couple has caused enough trouble in New York. The other families are about to put a joint bounty on their heads. That's fair. It was the only word Edwards could muster. A bounty on that couple was the most normal thing he'd heard all day. At this rate, Leo would probably get one too. The whole family, wanted by every syndicate. Edwards didn't dare imagine it. Back at the Sierra State, the battlefield had been tidied up, and everyone was now sitting down for dinner. After all, fighting and feuding were one thing, but you don't mess with dinner time. After a battle like that, to say they weren't hungry would be a lie, and since they were all gathered at the Sia estate anyway, Mr. Sia had the kitchen prepare a grand feast. In a bizarre twist, Mason Thorne had actually stayed for dinner, reasoning that Melina hadn't fully recovered and it was inconvenient to move her. Besides, Director Shang was still there. If Melina's condition took a turn, he could request another dose of gene serum on the spot. Everyone at the table had their own agenda. Mr. Sia was all smiles, playing the gracious host. Director Shang wore a thunderous expression, as if everyone owed him money. Ethan Sia was carefully trying to soothe Lucia Shang, who was still ignoring him. Melina sat next to her father, curiously observing Lucia. Henry Yen, having cleaned up and changed, sat in silence. Out of everyone at the table, only 4 people were actually focused on the food. Julian, Leo, Kane, and Ava. While Leo was devouring everything in sight, the other 3 were at least eating with some decorum. Although their trio hadn't made any standout contributions during the fight, it didn't stop them from enjoying the meal. The current meta was just a little weak for them. It was only natural to lay low for a bit. Once the next season's patch dropped, they'd be back to carry the team. For now, eating was the priority. Henry, what are your plans now? Director Shang asked. Have you considered joining the BSO? Henry shook his head. Director, thank you for the offer, but I just want to stay at Westlake University and continue the professor's research. To finish the path he started. You can continue your research at the BSO. We'll provide you with significant resources, Director Shang pressed. Henry just shook his head again, resolute. It's not the same. Seeing his determination, Director Shang didn't push further. Instead, he turned to Mason Thorne. Mason, I used the gene serum to save your daughter. How do you plan to repay that favor? Mason's expression turned solemn. Name it. As long as it's within my power, I'll agree. Melina tensed, her hand gripping her father's. Director Shang's eyes glinted. He glanced at Melina, then back at her father. In that case, have your daughter join the BSO. Cough. Leo choked on his food. He gave Director Shang a strange look and muttered under his breath. Is the BSO that desperate for people right now? Asking Henry to join, I can understand. But now Melina too. Director Shang, you're really something, Mr. Sia said, shaking his head with a sigh. No wonder Anthony Reed used to say you were the cancer of the BSO. He wasn't wrong. Director Shang shot him a look, but didn't bother responding. Anthony Reed? What did he know? If the BSO were full of people like him, it would truly be finished. Well, I saved your life with the gene serum. You work for the BSO. Seems fair, doesn't it? Director Shang said, looking directly at Melina. Mason frowned and was about to speak, but Melina stopped him. I'll do it, she said softly. Melina, it's okay, Dad, she said with a small smile. I'm grown up now. I can make my own decisions. Mason's mouth opened, but the words wouldn't come. Finally, he just nodded, giving his consent. Seeing Melina agree, Director Shang nodded in satisfaction. Good. In a couple of days, I'll have Lucia take you through the official hiring process. Standard procedure. Monthly salary, $6,000. How much? A voice shrieked. Leo's head shot up, his eyes wide with shock as he stared at Director Shang. Did you just say how much? $6,000 a month. Director Shang frowned. Is there a problem? The problem is freaking huge. Leo pointed at Melina. What's her position when she joins the BSO? New recruits always start as grade 3 agents, of course. Then what about Lucia, a grade 1 director? What's her monthly salary? At Lucia's level, with standard pay and various stipends, it's around $15,000 a month. $15,000. Leo's fist clenched, and he ground his teeth. I'm head of the Special Operations Unit, a rank higher than Lucia. So why is my monthly salary only $2,500? The table fell silent. Julian lowered his head, his shoulders shaking as he tried to stifle his laughter. After a moment, Director Shang recovered. This salary, Edwards is the one who pays you, right? Yes. Then that's normal, Director Shang said dismissively. You got scammed by Edwards. It's not the first time he's done something like this. This Special Operations Unit doesn't exist in the BSO. Edwards probably made the department up specifically to screw you over. If you had gone through the normal process, Edwards would have had to pay you the standard rate, and there are many things he couldn't legally order you to do. But by creating this fake unit, he can pay you whatever he wants. And if I'm not mistaken, your only direct superior is Edwards himself, correct? Yes, Leo said, looking utterly defeated. Well, there you have it, Director Shang said, looking at Leo strangely. How did you manage to fall into such an obvious trap? What kind of Kool-Aid did that guy have you drinking? Anyone with half a brain wouldn't have signed that contract. Special Operations Unit. Heh. Director Shang's words trailed off into a dry chuckle, saying more than words ever could. Every word from Director Shang was like a knife, twisting in Leo's heart. That final laugh was the last straw. Suddenly, Leo remembered that Edwards had once told him the Special Operations Unit was an idea they came up with when he was collaborating with Julian, which meant at least half of this scam had Julian's fingerprints all over it. Leo whipped his head around, glaring daggers at Julian. Noticing Leo's murderous gaze, Julian quickly composed himself, clearing his throat awkwardly. Ahem. I only provided a suggestion. All final decisions were made by Director Edwards. The subtext was clear. This has little to do with me. The real culprit is Edwards. Click-clack. Leo picked up his sniper rifle and looked at Director Shang, his face devoid of emotion. Where's that bastard Edwards? I just want to talk. 2 chapters today. I owe you one. Leo, be rational, Kane said, quickly getting up to restrain him. Don't you remember? If you attack a superior officer, it's a breach of contract. You'll have to pay the termination fee. $10 million. It's fine, Leo said, his face a blank mask. Once the old man is dead, there will be no one left to collect. Good point, Kane paused, then added, but do you even know where Edwards is? Leo fell into thought. After a moment, he said, I'll settle the score with him back in Ethelberg. If Edwards dared to hide from him, he'd just blow up the Ethelberg BSO headquarters. He needed an explanation for this, one way or another. Just then, Mr. I received a call from the gatehouse guard. Sir, there's a bunch of stray cats at the gate. They just keep meowing at me like they want to come in. Should I chase them away? Stray cats? Mister. I was about to tell the guard to shoo them away when Leo quickly intervened. Don't, Mister. Those strays are good friends of mine. Let them in. Mister. Blinked, looking at Leo with suspicion. You? Friends with stray cats? Have you gone insane, or have the cats? Dad, it's like this. Ethan quickly explained the situation with a feline brigade. Though it sounded absurd, Mister. Glanced at Leo and quickly accepted the existence of a feline demolition team. With a grand wave of his hand, he declared, let them in, and bring out all the tuna treats in the house. The next moment, Sir Reginald Fluffington marched in, leading his feline brigade with regal confidence. The cats formed a perfect square, their steps synchronized like a military drill. The sight was a powerful shock to everyone's system. This cat is interesting, Director Shang said, eyeing Reggie with keen interest. I wonder if it would be interested in joining the BSO. Mister. I shot him a weary look. You're really something else, Shang. You won't even leave a cat alone. Have you ever seen a cat this intelligent? And it knows demolitions. A team like this has immense strategic value, Director Shang said calmly. You're starting to convince me, Mister. Sia admitted, studying Reggie with newfound curiosity. He'd seen plenty of cats, but never one this extraordinary. Wait a minute. He remembered there was a raccoon in the kitchen, too. Also one of Leo's associates. The next second, a massive basin of tuna treats was brought out. Every cat froze, their eyes gleaming. Like addicts getting a fix, they swarmed the bowl. Meow. Tuna. Reggie was the first to dive headfirst into the ocean of treats. Seeing this, Director Shang wanted the cats even more. Easy to maintain. Just a few tuna treats. Extremely cost-effective. By the way, Leo, when are you guys planning to head back to Ethelberg? Ethan asked between bites of food. Westlake University is so wrecked, I doubt the competition is still on. Leo froze. The competition was off? You gotta be kidding me. Professor Miller was going to kill him. He was counting on Leo to win that gold medal for his promotion. But this should count as a force majeure, right? Leo thought again. He wasn't the one who'd wrecked the university. He was a victim, too. Leo exchanged a look with Ava. Their whole reason for coming was the competition. Now that the school was gone, there was no reason for them to stay in Westlake City. Should we head back? Leo suggested. But if we go back now, we'll be right on time for final exams, Ava said, troubled. I haven't studied. I haven't either, Leo blinked. They may have been top students in high school, but their college majors were a different story. Neither of them had really been keeping up. Ava might have been doing okay, but Leo had gone into full-blown slacker mode, skipping nearly every class except for Professor Miller's. It was a little late to start cramming now. The others at the table looked at Leo with strange expressions. You just turned Westlake City upside down, and you're worried about a university final? Ethan, on the other hand, was ecstatic. With the university in shambles, he definitely wouldn't have to take finals. No more group projects, either. It was perfect. Whatever. We'll just have to cram when we get back. It should be enough time, Leo said. The exams were inevitable. It was just a matter of dying sooner or later. If they left for Ethelberg tomorrow, they'd have 3 days to study. Learning a whole semester's worth of material in 3 days? Piece of cake. Just a few all-nighters. In that case, let's head back tomorrow. So soon, Ethan said, feigning disappointment. Why not stay a few more days? Hiss. Under the table, Lucia stomped hard on his foot. She shot him a glare. A few more days? They'd only been here for a handful of days, and had already caused this much chaos. If they stayed longer, was he trying to start another war? Lucia couldn't wait to see them off. If they really wanted to hang out, they could go to Ethelberg. A little vacation. Westlake City couldn't take any more of their brand of fun. Ethan quickly changed his tune. Leo, I'll drive you guys back tomorrow. No need, we have a car. Wait. Leo waved a hand to refuse, then suddenly froze. Where was his car? He quickly stood up, looking around. He remembered parking it right here at the estate. Where was his brand new, very large car? That car of yours. I think it got kicked into the stratosphere by that monster earlier. It was pretty badly damaged, so I had my people dispose of it, mister. Sia's words left Leo standing there in a daze. His car was gone. That was a brand new car. He hadn't even driven it himself yet, and now it was gone. Leo was silent for a long moment. Then he looked up. Mister, Sia, I helped your family out in a big way this time. Don't you think you should show some appreciation? If it weren't for me taking out that monster, the losses to the CF family would have been incalculable. Mister, Sia's mouth twitched. He had a bad feeling about this. Just say it. What do you want? Mister, Sia, given our relationship, I won't ask for much. Leo held up one finger and said coolly, $10,021,000. $10 million for his daughter's hand, and the remaining $21,000 for a new car. A nice, round number. Mister, Sia raised an eyebrow. USD. That's right. Leo nodded emphatically. No, I don't have a single cent. Mister, Sia shook his head decisively. Was he kidding? The cleanup, the repairs, it was all going to cost a fortune. Where was he supposed to pull $10 million out of for Leo? Mister, Sia, how can you be so ungrateful? Leo demanded indignantly. If the price is $10 million, I think I'd rather live with the shame of being called ungrateful, mister. Sia said nonchalantly. As a season-old fox, he had a much thicker skin than that. If Leo thought he could extort him, he was still far too naive. In the end, after a campaign of tantrums, shameless begging, and general obnoxiousness from Leo, mister, Sia reluctantly agreed to buy him a new car. After dinner, everyone began to depart. Leo and the others had to hurry back and pack, since they were leaving for Ethelberg the next day. Any later, and they'd have no time to study. 3 days was already pushing it. Leo, what do you think you're doing? Outside her room, Ava eyed him warily. Going to sleep, of course. It's late, Leo said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Go sleep in your own room. Nope. Ava's eyes widened. Was he really this brazen now? Was anyone going to rein him in? I'm calling my brother. Go ahead. I need to settle a score with him, anyway. I haven't forgotten about him teaming up with Edwards to screw me over, Leo said with shameless confidence. Then, he decided to force his way in, sweeping Ava up into his arms, striding into the room, and kicking the door shut behind him. Hey, Leo, don't do anything crazy. Faced with this suddenly assertive Leo, Ava started to panic. But then she thought about it. Leo didn't have the guts, did he? Ava quickly calmed down, letting him carry her and toss her onto the bed. Then, she watched as Leo started taking off his clothes. But she remained calm, sitting on the bed and watching him with a composed expression. She was certain he didn't have the nerve. She'd fallen for his bluffs too many times before. This time will be different. Leo was just a pig. Then, Leo started taking off his pants. Stop. Ava couldn't hold back any longer. Okay, she was a little panicked. What are you taking your pants off for? I don't like sleeping with clothes on. You know that, Leo said matter-of-factly. That's bullshit. Ava's face flushed. Leo always slept in pajamas. Did he think she wouldn't know that? What are you really trying to do? She demanded. Seeing her reaction, Leo let out a dramatic sigh. Ava, I can't hide it from you anymore. I talked to your brother a while ago. He's completely against us being together. He absolutely refuses to let us get married. I had no choice but to resort to this. To force the issue and make an honest woman out of you. Leo's voice was filled with tragic sorrow. He trailed off, covering his face as if to weep. And married? Ava's eyes went wide. Aren't we moving a little too fast for marriage? Ava, that's not the point, Leo said gravely. The point is that your brother doesn't approve, and he tried to shame me with money, Sob. Shame you with money? Ava was skeptical. For some reason, she didn't quite believe him. Yes, he said if I gave up the idea of marrying you, he'd give me $10 million. But Ava, I love you so much. How could I ever leave you for $10 million? Leo even managed to squeeze out a few tears. If Julian were here, he would have already pulled out his gun and shot Leo on the spot. This level of twisting the truth was unreal. Why will my brother do that to you? Ava frowned, then pulled out her phone. I'm going to call and ask him. As she spoke, she snuck a glance at Leo's expression, noticing he made no move to stop her. Could it be true? Ava decided to call Julian. If what Leo said was true, then her brother had gone too far. Hello? What's wrong, Ava? Julian answered. Brother, Leo is here with me. Ava glanced at Leo, who was now looking as pitiful as a wronged wife. Leo is... What's he doing in your room this late? Julian's voice sharpened. Julian, Leo chimed in, his voice dripping with sorrow. Already told Ava everything about the $10 million. 10 mil. Julian's voice cut off abruptly. 1,000 thoughts raced through Julian's mind. Could it be that Leo doesn't want to pay the $10 million dowry and is planning to force the issue with Ava? Leo, I'm warning you. If you dare do anything to Ava right now, you can forget about marrying my sister for the rest of your life. So if I don't do anything right now, you'll agree to let me marry Ava? Leo pressed. Bullshit. Don't even think about it. I'm telling you, Leo, 10 million isn't enough. Make it 20. Julian meant the dowry needed to be 20 million. But combined with what Leo had just told Ava and the tone of their conversation, Ava naturally assumed he meant he was offering Leo 20 million to give up on the idea of marriage. Brother, how could you? Ava's voice was laced with disappointment. Huh? Julian was completely confused. I'm trying to help you, my dear sister. Seeing his chance, Leo's eyes flashed. He took the phone from Ava and said, Give it up, Julian. I will never abandon Ava. With that, he hung up, giving Julian no chance to explain. He was afraid if Julian said another word, the whole ruse would collapse. Stop. Ava, you heard him. How could your brother treat me like this? Leo collapsed dramatically into Ava's arms, wailing. Ava's head was spinning. She could only pat Leo's back and whisper, It's okay. My brother doesn't get to make decisions for me. Sniff. Really? Really? So you can make decisions about the dowry and stuff, too? Of course. Besides, our family isn't short on money, so the dowry doesn't really matter. We can do without it. Ava had no idea that Leo was secretly recording her words. Buried in her embrace, Leo's lips curved into a subtle smile. Dowry handled. I'm a genius. Originally, Leo had planned to stop there, but the opportunity was too good to pass up. He decided to push his luck. Sniff. Ava, you're the best. Then let's get married as soon as we get back. Okay. Huh. Ava's brain caught up, her eyes widening. No, that's too fast. But Ava, I'm afraid if we wait, your brother will find a way to sabotage us and ruin our relationship. I don't think my brother would do that. What if he does? He's a total sister complex case. He'd do anything for you. Leo continued to coax her. He could feel her resolve starting to crumble. We'll just get the license. We won't do anything else, okay? Just the license. Ava hesitated. Just getting the license shouldn't be a big deal, right? And she remembered that a marriage certificate could even get you extra academic credits. Just as she was about to give in. Bang, bang, bang. Leo, get your ass out here. Julian's voice roared from outside the door. Damn it. So close. Leo wanted to strangle Julian. He was just about to succeed, one step away from getting a marriage license with Ava. Who knew when an opportunity like this would come again? Ava was just about to be swayed by his sincerity. Oh, right, his sincerity. And now it was all ruined. Leo, if you don't come out, don't blame me for what happens next. Leo frowned, his mind racing for a solution. If he opened that door and Julian explained everything, he was a dead man. It would be a very, very painful death. But in the next second, Ava stood up and opened the door herself. What are you yelling about? Don't you know you'll wake the neighbors at this hour? Ava glared at Julian, her cheeks puffed out. Leo froze, then silently gave her a thumbs up from behind. Seeing it was Ava, Julian's anger immediately fizzled out. Where's Leo? Tell him to come out. What do you want with him? He's in your room this late. He's obviously up to no good. What do you think I want? I invited him to my room. What about it? Ava shot back, full of righteous indignation. The ultimate girlfriend defense. Leo was so moved, he could have cried. Was this what it felt like to be protected by your girlfriend? You invited him. Julian's eyes widened, but before he could finish, Ava cut him off. All right, stop bothering us. We're going to sleep. Click. Ava shut the door, leaving Julian standing in the hallway, completely dumbfounded. Serves you right for always watching me. Ava muttered under her breath. Truth be told, She had long grown tired of Julian's overbearing, sister-complex behavior. This was the perfect chance to show him where she stood. She wasn't his naive little sister anymore. She could handle her own affairs. Ava had never been one to be controlled. She liked to be in charge of her own life. Needing Julian's permission to get married? If Ava Reed wanted to get married, she would get married. No one else's opinion mattered. If they had a problem, they could keep it to themselves. In that moment, Ava felt like she had rediscovered the little devil she used to be back at the Reed estate. What was that saying? You can take the fish out of water, but you can't take the fishiness out of the fish. No matter how docile Ava had been lately, deep down, she was still that hell-raising young miss. And frankly, it felt good. What are you looking at? Bedtime. Ava glared at Leo, her voice sharp. Keep staring, and I'll deal with you myself. Her words made Leo's eyes light up. Really? Being dealt with by Ava? He wouldn't mind that at all. Whump. Ava grabbed a pillow and hurled it at him. Leo immediately straightened up. Tonight's Ava was terrifying. They lay quietly in bed, and for once, Leo was perfectly behaved. He even felt a little awkward. At this rate, he might as well have gone back to his own room. Why are you so far away? Get over here and hold me, Ava commanded. Leo obediently complied. Nestled in his arms, Ava slowly closed her eyes, and just like any other night, they drifted off to sleep. After a while, with her eyes still closed, Ava whispered, Leo, do you really want to get married? Well, I'm not in that much of a hurry, Leo said, not entirely truthfully. Ava wrapped her arms around him. I was planning to wait until after graduation, but if you really want to, I guess getting a license first wouldn't be the worst thing. Her words made Leo's eyes snap open, his heart starting to race. Looking down at Ava in his arms, he felt a genuine desire to marry her. It wasn't about sex. It was simply about wanting to spend his life with her, just like this. But since she wanted to wait until graduation, he would respect her wishes. Leo gently kissed her lips. It's okay. We'll wait until after graduation. And once we graduate, we'll get married. Ava's eyes fluttered open, her cheeks tinged with pink. Can you wait that long? She asked with a sly smile. We're only freshmen. That's still 3 whole years. And if I can't wait, would you be willing? Leo grinned back, his intentions clear. That depends on your performance. Ava paused, then added, but your performance just now was pretty good. I'm very satisfied with your answer. So, I'll allow your hands to misbehave for one night. Really? Leo blinked. Anywhere. Not down there, Ava said after a moment's thought. If she allowed that, Leo might actually lose control. And she couldn't guarantee she'd be able to restrain herself, either. So, above the waist was just right. Though a little disappointed, Leo was more than satisfied. Before, he had to be sneaky. Now, he had official permission. Without hesitation, he reached out with his demonic claws. NGH. A soft whimper escaped Ava's lips. Be gentle, she chided. Then, her entire body went soft, and she lost all strength to push him away. The next day, they both woke up with massive dark circles under their eyes. They had been too excited, playing and teasing each other until the middle of the night before finally falling asleep. Ava kept complaining that Leo had gotten drool all over her. Leo remained silent, not daring to talk back. Eventually, Ava banned all misbehavior, and only then did they manage to get some sleep. Waking up and remembering the events of last night, Ava's face flushed crimson all the way to her ears. She must have been insane to allow Leo to do that. She mentally chastised herself. It could never happen again. As soon as they got back to Ethelberg, they were sleeping in separate rooms. Crap, we haven't even packed our bags. Ava grabbed a pillow and threw it at Leo. This is all your fault. You made me forget about what we were supposed to be doing. Leo looked bewildered. He didn't have any luggage. Besides, wasn't what they were doing last night also very important business? You go back to your own room, Ava ordered, pointing at him. Ava, are you trying to use me and then cast me aside? Leo protested. Say one more word, and I'll get the scissors and snip-snip emerging from Ava's room, and snorted coldly. Leo, if you dare let my sister down, I will personally kill you. Don't worry, Julian. In my heart, Ava's importance is second only to an inferno burrito, Leo said with grave sincerity. I would die to protect her. Julian shot him a venomous glare. You'd better. At the entrance of the Sierra estate, Leo clung to Mr. Sia's hand, unwilling to let go. Mr. Sia, after this farewell, when will we ever meet again? Leo's eyes were brimming with tears. Mr. Sia's face was a mask of exasperation. It's only a few hours from Westlake City to Ethelberg, and if you really miss me, you can video call. Who are you trying to kid with this drama? Mr. Sia, the car you promised me. Please get it soon, Leo said earnestly. I'm going to get my driver's license as soon as I get back, so I can be the first to drive the car you bought for me. Pfft. Nearby, Ethan couldn't hold it in any longer and burst out laughing. The idea of Leo passing a driving test was the funniest joke he'd heard all year. As the young master of the CF family, he had been professionally trained to maintain his composure. He generally didn't laugh, unless he couldn't help it. Leo shot Ethan a death glare. What was that supposed to mean? Who was he looking down on? Ethan's smile didn't falter in the slightest, openly mocking him. The others had already left after dinner the previous night. The monster, Spencer Foam, had been taken into BSO custody. Director Shang had even asked Henry Yin to research a way to restore him to normal. Lucia was busy with cleanup operations and didn't have time to see them off. After joining the BSO, Melina had been assigned to work under Lucia and was reportedly performing well. Perhaps, as she had said, she had truly moved on. The lovesick puppy Melina Thorne was dead. The new Melina lived only for herself. Well, Mr. Yeah, we'll be heading back now, Julian said politely. All right, remember to come visit Westlake City often. Just don't bring Leo. The rest of you are always welcome, Mr. CS said with a smile to Ava and the others. They all readily agreed, promising they would absolutely not bring Leo next time. Leo, what was this? Were they ganging up on him? Ava, you weren't saying this last night. Everyone piled into the car. They had arrived as a group of 3 and were returning as 4, with the addition of Julian. The rest of the crew was sent back by high-speed rail. The driver was, once again, their long-suffering friend, Kane. Kane sat in the driver's seat, with Julian in the passenger seat. In the back were Leo and Ava, the sickeningly sweet couple shamelessly engaging in public displays of affection. Hey, wait. Just as Kane was about to drive off, Leo called out. Almost forgot. Wait for me. Leo jumped out of the car and sprinted back into the CS state like a whirlwind. The 3 in the car exchanged confused looks. Soon, Leo returned. In his left hand, he held Sir Reginald Fluffington by the scruff of his neck. Tucked under his right arm was Rocket. Reggie looked back longingly, as if mourning his lost tuna treats. Rocket, on the other hand, looked like he had just woken up, blinking his eyes in confusion. Almost forgot these two. Leo tossed Reggie into Ava's lap and stuffed Rocket into the trunk. The little raccoon was too big. The reeds had fed him until he was positively rotund. He wouldn't fit anywhere else. Just hang in there for a bit, okay? Leo said to Rocket. Squeak, squeak. Okay. Rocket gave Leo a very human-like okay gesture, then curled up in the trunk and went to sleep. He was sleepy anyway. What did it matter where he slept? As for the other members of the feline brigade, they had been adopted by the CF family. A few tuna treats were a small price to pay. It's not like they couldn't afford it. All right, let's go, driver, Leo said, shutting the door. Driver, my ass. You really think I'm your chauffeur? Kane resisted the urge to curse Leo out, stomped on the gas, and sped off toward Ethelberg. After they were gone, Director Edwards's figure emerged from around a corner. I thought you wouldn't show yourself. Were you really afraid that kid would shoot you? Mister, CS said without turning around. I just didn't want to know I was in Westlake City, Edwards said, walking closer. So, why did you come looking for me? Anthony Reed has already rescued Sterling. They're on their way to Westlake City now. Mister, see, I was stunned. He really dared to storm the Vance estate. I honestly didn't have much faith in your plan, but I didn't think you'd actually pull it off. However, I've already done what I promised to help you with. Why are you here now? Edwards's voice grew quiet. After this is over, I'm planning to leave the BSO. Leave the BSO? Why? The path the BSO is taking is different from my own, and with Sterling around, I can leave with peace of mind. Mister, see, I was silent for a long time. Why are you telling me this? After I leave, there will be no one to manage the Ethelberg BSO. I hope you'll take my place. You can forget it. I'm not touching that hot potato, mister. Sierra refused without a second thought. How long has it been since I left the BSO? I've painstakingly built up the CF family from nothing, and you wanted to go back now. Not to mention you have that kid, Leo, under your command. Anyway, it's impossible. Don't even think about it. The refusal was clearly what Edwards had expected, so he wasn't surprised. But other than Mr. Sia, he truly couldn't think of anyone to take his place. Suddenly, Mr. Sia's eyebrow arched with a hint of mischief. I do have a suggestion, though. Go on. Let Leo take your place. How about it? Him. Edwards frowned and shook his head. His methods. No, that won't work. Don't be so rigid, Mr. Sia chuckled. The BSO is already in this state. Can it really get any worse? Instead of letting things continue like this, why not gamble on the younger generation? Each generation has its own mission. We old bones have been sitting in these positions for long enough. Why not try giving the youth a chance? A flicker of hesitation crossed Edwards's face, but he was still uneasy. But Leo is so young. I can't trust him to take over this position now. Hehehe. Edwards, if I recall correctly, you weren't much older than Leo when you first joined the BSO, were you? Mr. CS smiled, then turned away. Anyway, it's just a suggestion. The final decision is in your hands. Think about it. You know as well as I do that Leo can't be judged by ordinary standards. You created that special operations unit for him, didn't you? You were already planning to groom him. This is just moving the timeline up a bit. Whatever you decide, just leave me out of it. I'm long retired. With that, Mr. Sia walked back into his estate, leaving Edwards standing alone, his face a mask of conflict. He really needed to think this over. Phew, finally home. The moment Leo and Ava got back to their apartment, they collapsed onto the sofa. The trip to Westlake City had only been a few days, but every single one of them had been packed with action. It was exhausting. The two, who had planned to start studying immediately, were now sprawled on the sofa, with no motivation to do anything. Kane had dropped them off and then driven Julian and Rocket back to the Reed estate. Leo's small apartment was no place for a raccoon as plump as Rocket. Reggie immediately found his cat bed and lay down, motionless. The two humans and one cat remained sprawled out like corpses for a long time. Leo hadn't told Professor Miller he was back. A mess as big as the one in Westlake City would surely reach his ears eventually. Leo had always operated on one principle. If Miller didn't contact him, he certainly wasn't going to contact Miller. How about we start studying tomorrow? Leo suggested, learning a semester's worth of material in 2 days. If they really pushed themselves, it wasn't impossible. Do we have to cut it that close? Ava grumbled, but she didn't object. She wanted a lazy day too. In his cat bed, Reggie let out a yawn. Leo looked at him with envy, thinking to himself with a sigh. Maybe I should be a cat in my next life. No school, no exams, just sleeping wherever and whenever I want. And I could go out and make new friends every once in a while. Leo, I'm hungry, Ava said. What are you telling me for? You want to eat me? Leo mumbled. The next second, a throw pillow hit him in the face. He didn't even bother to dodge. It didn't hurt. It made for a nice cushion. Actually, hey, how about we go to Dylan's uncle's place for barbecue? Leo suggested. He hadn't been back since the first time, but he hadn't forgotten Arthur Wallace's promise of free food. But won't barbecue make me gain weight? Ava asked worriedly. How could it? That's all high-quality protein. It's practically a diet food. How could it make you fat? Leo cajoled. Ava thought for a moment and nodded. Arthur Wallace's barbecue joint was delicious, and she had been wanting to go back. Let's go. Leo sprang up from the sofa. So, they left Reggie at home and went out for barbecue. An hour later, they arrived at the restaurant. They both stood there, staring blankly at the For Lee sign on the door. Did it? Got a business. Leo's mouth twitched. He remembered it being packed the last time they were here. The food and reputation were both great. How could it close down so quickly? Was the restaurant industry really that competitive now? Hold on, I'll call Dylan and see what's going on. Leo couldn't understand it. He pulled out his phone and called Dylan Miller. After a long time, Dylan still hadn't answered. What's going on? Leo frowned. As far as he could remember, this was the first time Dylan hadn't picked up his call. Maybe he's busy? Ava guessed. Maybe he's on a date with Chloe Meng. TCH. Now that you mention it, that's highly likely. The guy has always prioritized girls over his friends. Let's get Korean barbecue instead. I haven't had it in ages, and I'm sick of regular barbecue after all that time in Westlake City, Ava suggested. Leo nodded. He wasn't picky about food. He put Dylan's situation on the back burner for now. The guy probably wasn't in any real trouble. So, they found a nearby Korean barbecue place and had dinner. After a satisfying meal, Leo and Ava walked hand in hand along the Ethelberg riverfront. Suddenly, Ava seemed to remember something and let out a soft laugh. What are you laughing at? Leo asked, curious. Nothing. I was just remembering the first time we walked this path, Ava said, hugging his arm. Her words jogged his memory. The first time he and Ava had walked this way was to take her home. That night, she had walked ahead of him with her hands behind her back, humming a little tune. Leo had followed behind, holding a giant Pikachu plushie. Coincidentally, they had eaten Korean barbecue for dinner that night, too. Thinking of this, Leo couldn't help but ask, be honest, did you start liking me back then? You were the one who confessed to me first, in front of the whole class, Ava said, giving him a playful glare. Leo had no comeback for that. There were too many witnesses. He couldn't deny it. Still, it's been a long time since I felt this relaxed, Ava said, leaning her head on his shoulder. Just then, Leo's phone rang. He pulled it out and felt a chill run down his spine. It was Professor Miller. Hello, Professor Miller. Leo's voice was cautious. Leo, where are you? Professor Miller's anxious voice came through the phone. I heard something big happen in Westlake City. A lot of people died, and Westlake University even got blown up. Are you okay? Don't worry, Professor. I'm fine. I'm back in Ethelberg, safe and sound, Leo said quietly. Oh, that's good. And Leo, don't be discouraged. Even though the competition was canceled, there'll be plenty of other opportunities. Take your time. There's no rush, Miller comforted him. He paused, then added, It's not your fault. I don't know what kind of bastard would do that to Westlake University. It's absolutely monstrous. And they even killed people. It's despicable. Don't you think that person deserves to die, Leo? Leo's eye twitched. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Professor, I suspect you're insulting me, but I have no proof. Well, maybe there were extenuating circumstances? Leo laughed nervously. We don't know the whole story, so we shouldn't judge. Right, Professor? Bullshit. The facts speak for themselves. Let me tell you, Leo, the person who set off those explosions at Westlake University is definitely not a good person. They got some serious issues. You'd better not learn from them, you hear me? Beside him, Ava covered her mouth, her shoulders shaking as she tried to hold back her laughter. Leo gritted his teeth. I understand, Professor. Was there anything else? No, that's all. As long as you're back, I can rest easy. Just focus on preparing for your final exams. With that, Professor Miller hung up. Leo's face was dark. He felt a strange sense of bewilderment. It was almost as if his professor had called just to yell at him. Could he know I was the one who set off the explosions? The thought appeared, but Leo quickly shook his head. That was impossible. Professor Miller was just an ordinary university professor. How could he possibly know the real story behind Westlake City? He must be overthinking it. In a corner of Ethelberg, Professor Miller hung up the phone, let out a long breath, and a satisfied smile spread across his face. That felt good. Very satisfying. And the best part was the kid couldn't even talk back. Even more satisfying. It was already nighttime when they returned home. Reggie had dutifully finished the last of his cat food. He then informed Leo that there was no more food and that he wanted tuna treats. Leo casually tossed him a few beef sticks. He was all about spoiling his cat. While Ava was in the shower, Leo sat on the sofa, frowning at his phone. Even now, Dylan hadn't responded to his messages. Something was definitely wrong. After some thought, Leo called Alex Young. Hello? What now? Alex's voice sounded like that of a deeply resentful employee. He had just gotten off the high-speed rail with the rest of the special ops team and was hoping to finally relax when Leo's call came through. I can't get a hold of Dylan Miller. Do you know what's going on? Leo asked. Dylan Miller? Arthur Wallace's nephew. Alex sounded puzzled. I haven't heard anything. Arthur Wallace cut ties with the Warrens a long time ago. He wasn't among the family members who went to Westlake City, and neither was Dylan. Still, I have a bad feeling, Leo said, frowning. It's like Dylan and Arthur Wallace just vanished off the face of the earth. Alex let out a soft sigh. I'll look into it for you. Thanks, I appreciate it. Leo hung up, exhaling slowly. He hoped nothing had happened to Dylan. Otherwise, who would he play video games with? Click, the bathroom door opened, and Ava emerged in her pajamas. I'm done. I'm so tired. I'm just going to dry my hair and go to bed. She yawned, then went into her room, closing the door behind her. Good night, Leo. Good night. Leo blinked, then got up to take his own shower. After his shower, Leo changed into his pajamas and, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, opened the door and walked into Ava's room. Ava had just finished drying her hair and was about to turn off the lights. Seeing Leo enter, she asked, confused, What are you doing in here? Sleeping, Leo said matter-of-factly. Go sleep in your own room. Ava said indignantly. Nope. Leo shamelessly switched to his stubborn mode, turned off the light, and flopped onto the bed. Was she kidding? There was no way he could sleep alone now. He had gotten used to holding her at night, especially here at home. It was too cozy. Ava looked at him with a helpless expression, knowing she wasn't going to be able to kick him out. Don't you dare misbehave, she warned. Okay, Leo readily agreed. And so, Ava fell asleep in his arms almost instantly. She hadn't slept well the night before, and after being out all day, she was completely exhausted. Watching her sleep, Leo didn't take advantage of the situation. He just held her gently and drifted off to sleep himself. For the next 2 days, Leo and Ava didn't leave the apartment once. They stayed home, cramming for their finals. They even had all their meals delivered. When they realized they were running out of time, Leo even used gun kata to study, hoping it would enhance his memory. Similarly, for those 2 nights, Leo slept in Ava's room. He hadn't even opened the door to his own room. Since returning from Westlake City, their relationship had deepened rapidly, moving beyond simple hugs and cuddles. Finally, the afternoon of their last final exam arrived. Leo and Ava walked out of the exam hall and let out a collective sigh of relief. The last test was over. The semester was finally finished. "You going home? I'm going to stop by the BSO," Leo told Ava. He still hadn't seen Dylan, even by the end of exams. Leo knew that if something hadn't gone wrong, it had most definitely gone wrong. He wanted to ask Alex if he had found any new information. And while he was there, he was going to demand an explanation from Edwards. Why only $2,500 a month? Was he feeding a beggar? Before, Leo had thought it was a lot, but after learning the truth, he now considered it an insult. If Edwards didn't give him a reasonable explanation, he was going to raise hell. Ava nodded. "Okay, just be back early." They had made plans to watch the Olympics together tonight. All right. Leo hailed a cab and headed for the BSO headquarters. As soon as he arrived, he found Alex young. Since returning from Westlake City, Alex had been buried under a mountain of reports. He had been working overtime for the past 2 days, swamped. "Well, Alex, any news on Dylan?" "Sort of," Alex said, looking up at Leo. "We found out that not long ago, Arthur Wallace took Dylan and left Ethelberg. They went south." "South?" Leo frowned. "When did they leave?" "Around the time you first went to Westlake City." "Just the two of them?" "Yes." "And any other news?" "We're in the South, specifically. We're still looking into it. It's been a while, and Arthur Wallace intentionally covered their tracks, so it's been difficult to trace them." Leo nodded and clapped Alex on the shoulder. "Thanks for the help. Let me know as soon as you find anything." He paused, then added, "Is the old bastard upstairs?" "You mean Director Edwards?" "He's got back. He's in his office." "Good. I have some business to discuss with him. You get back to work." With that, Leo started walking upstairs. Alex watched him go with a puzzled expression, but didn't ask any questions and went back to his work. Leo reached Edwards' office, took a deep breath, and shoved the door open with force. "Edwards, you bastard. You'd better have an explanation for me." Leo's words cut off abruptly. He realized that besides Edwards, there was someone else in the office, sitting on the sofa. Julian Reed. "Well, speak of the devil," Julian said with a grin. Edwards gave Leo a cool glance, but said nothing. It was obvious that he and Julian had been discussing something, and it was related to Leo. "Come in, have a seat. There's actually something we wanted to get your opinion on," Julian said, smiling and gesturing for Leo to come closer. Leo was immediately on high alert, looking at Julian with suspicion. He had a feeling this was not going to be good. Edwards was an old fox, and Julian was a new one. With the two of them together, Leo felt like he was about to get scammed again. Part 2. Mandatory separators. Part 3. New adaptation mappings.